better leave it to the professionals.
Lust by Bundy, blah, blah, blah.
Started off with a bit, now I got coin. I see where y'all going. Been poppin' since Web 1, hella hoes on Web 2. I was living a dream, now I'm on Web 3. And it is what it seems, topping the pyramid schemes, I'm telling you. I'll sell you a percentage on Nebula. Shout out to Vince, he'll set it up.
Surfing on the web and I'm shooting at 3. I've been golden when I got my G. I'm an alien boy from a different planet, yeah. So I got my drink, I'm riding in the 1920s Model T Ford. Call her era lord. Call me Levi playing on the keys, boy. And I'm about to put my gloves on. If I said it, then I meant that. Yeah, I like that one, I'm about to get that. Crash that whip for the drumsticks, whiplash. I'm about to get them all. Are you with that? In a white boat, surrounded by blue. I want one, but I got a cop too. I wanna fly high in the sky, arms out wide, trying to soar from a bird's eye view. I'm on fire, Ricky, Bobby, cracking the pavement, Whitney, Bobby. I'm a Saki bomb, Hiroshima, Nagasaki. Bruce Wayne been a dog, and I keep it 101, cause I'm feeling kinda spotty. You sipping on some rock, and I'm sipping on octane. The only thing around my neck is the
Started off with a
blockchain.
bit, now I got coin. I see where y'all going. Been poppin' since Web 1, hella hoes on Web 2. I was living a dream, now I'm on Web 3. And it is what it seems, topping the pyramid schemes, I'm telling you. I'll sell you a percentage on Nebula. Shout out to Vince, he'll set it up.
NFT, Twitter, blockchain. Seeing with the ghosts and we ballin' like the Brown James. Crypto. We can make a trade, get the memo. Reviews not falling for the FOMO. Listening to Coffee with Captain. You know we worldwide, they loco. I ain't never gonna stop rapping. Orlando, yeah, we working magic. We rocking Ethereum entities. I just went and caught me a half base. Man, I gotta shout out
Started
the
off with a
40.
bit, now I got coin. I see where y'all going. Been poppin' since Web 1, hella hoes on Web 2. I was living a dream, now I'm on Web 3. And it is what it seems, topping the pyramid schemes, I'm telling you. I'll sell you a percentage on Nebula. Shout out to Vince, he'll set it up.
Breaking the mood to choose one, but they got knowledge to move, son. I'm shocking in shades with my brother in shoes. Yeah, them blues is coming. Even though it's hard to pick, eeny, mighty, mo, soda on the mix, no biting lips, it's time to go. Index number 1, no thumbs up, you gotta scroll. Looking at the ghost in studio, it's time to go. Had a helmet on by myself until I met a mask that wanted to have a face off. Had to bring my chainsaw, full tank of gas in the ride with my brakes off. I'm A1, but a different kind of steak sauce.
Welcome to Coffee with Captain, powered by ApeCoin, where we dive into all things crypto, NFTs, Web3, and cutting-edge technology. Remember, nothing here is financial advice. Early-stage tech can be exceptionally volatile and risky. So grab your coffee and join Cap and Steve for today's conversation.
Welcome to the future.
Welcome to Coffee with Captain. GM, thanks so much for joining us. If you haven't already done so, do us a favor, drop us a GM in the chat down below. Then head up top, smash that like, repost, and bookmark on today's space. We would greatly appreciate it. It warms up the algo, lets everyone know we're here, and does us a solid. GM to Hizzy and Machiavelli over in the YouTube chats. We will pin that up top here in a second. We're also live on Abstract on Steve's feed today, as well as the X video feed from Steve's account as well. The best GMers drop them in all those spots, but even one would be appreciated on this fine Friday. As always, I'm Cap, joined by my co-host Steve. Never any financial advice on the show. Crypto is risky, NFTs are risky, meme coins exception risky, and go to zero to moment's notice. Except for Fartcoin, it hot air only rises, and it continues to melt faces. But outside, in big things are happening in the world of big. But other than those two, everything is still, Ponzi's can go to zero to moment's notice. So please don't put any money you can afford to lose, especially into a Ponzi like big. But GG to all the early miners out there. Steve and I also hold tokens we'll talk about from time to time here in the show, so please don't take any financial advice from us. We're not financial advisors. We're certainly not your financial advisors. Join us, though, for some fun, some entertainment, and maybe some education along the way. GM Steve, how you doing, sir?
GM. Doing well, actually. Feeling surprisingly spry, considering I'm a little worried I might be getting sick. Dawn has been sick for like a month, and she's finally starting to get over it. Just one of those like gunky colds that hangs on. Like, she doesn't get sick super often, neither do I, but when we do, it's sort of volatile. Although I'm tracking that this year just to see, because I feel like you forget how often you're sick. Like, you'll be sick and then you'll forget about it. You'll be like, I haven't even been sick this year. Like, I forgot. I went to the ER with colitis, like, a couple of months ago, and I had forgotten about it until I recently checked my my workout chart where I'm tracking sickness as well. But so I feel like I'm starting to get that, but feeling good this morning anyway as we ride. In fact, I'm hoping that I think I was on mute, but right as we started, I gave like a big old sniff because I was feeling a little bit ornery. So I'm hoping that we don't that doesn't show up too much on the feed. Have had that happen before.
But
But
found in the Neti Pot alpha in the abstract chat.
Neti Pot, I am a fan of. I'm not at Neti Pot territory yet. So I only Neti Pot when you up to Neti Pot because it does mess with your ears and gives them like the little popping thing that hurts. So I'm not in Neti Pot territory yet, but we may get there if it continues. I'm a Neti Pot tour, although I am impatient because you have to like boil the water and wait for it to cool down and all that good stuff to make sure you don't get horrible things, bacteria in that way. But
distilled water, right?
What's that?
Distilled water, right?
I use distilled water, but you have to heat it up. So you put distilled water into what? Like a mug and then heat it up in the microwave. And then that mug might have bacteria in it. And so I generally boil the water. What I'll do is I'll take distilled water. I put it in a tea kettle. I have a stainless steel tea kettle. I boil it. I let it cool down. I use it and we net a pot and make it work. But yeah, GM to all the good GMers out there. Abstract going nuts this morning. We got Green Edge. We got Be Epic. Be Epic's been on a tear with Abstract lately, by the way.
Great clip yesterday.
Good clip.
Up top.
Be Epic's clipping. Be Epic's like pulling down Abstract points. Going to have a good Abstract TGE, I would assume, depending on how that goes. So good seeing you out there. Teacher Katie every single morning. Dunk Cookie has joined the chat, as you mentioned. Machiavelli, Hizzy, everybody else there. Appreciate y'all. Sierra in the chat, GM, Diablito, Odeca, heading over to the X chat. Again, like, retweet, comment on the room if you don't mind, especially on X. We appreciate that. But Abstract, YouTube, anywhere is helpful. We're working on spinning this thing together. Jed showing up this morning. Mel, appreciate you out there as always. Alpha Minor, GM, Aspiring Nobody, Micro, Screenwriter Dave, OC, Diablito. I got to get Micro an invite for the Tuesday because I mentioned he's coming on. Funky Curtis. Curtis crushing the runs. I saw that in the timeline. Gives me a little inspo as well. Kazi, like Kamikaze, out there. GM to see you as well. Always good seeing the orange background. 8 Dobbins never misses. Dwayne Brick at all.
Cleveland. Dobbins on his way to Cleveland. Coming to have lunch with Steve.
Is Dobbins on his way to Cleveland?
I just said in the chat he's on his way to flying to Cleveland this morning.
Dobbins. I'm a little bit hectic at the moment, but I send me a DM. Who knows? Maybe it'll work depending on where you're heading out to. I love Dobbins. Dobbins got the tat in Lisbon. Good dude.
Rocking that Lisbon hoodie today.
You don't there's some people and we'll get into it in a minute. Again, like, retweet, comment in the room. As we always mention, we don't, as of yet, we really haven't sold anything besides some board shorts and a book. So do us a favor and give us some love on the space. We always appreciate it because we we don't ask for a lot, but getting the like and the retweet and the comments is always helpful. Dobbin's one of those people, you meet some people and you're just like, they have a good vibe and a good energy. Like, you just know that they're a good person. Dobbins fits that mold. It's just like, you meet Dobbins, you're like, all right, good one right there. So appreciate that. Yeah, Cap, I was going to say.
I had to do it. We talked about it day before yesterday. We talked about it sometime about throwing off the betters. So I just had to, I saw this in the closet this morning. Like, you know what? I'm heading to the gym. I'm not going to shower before the show. So we're going to just toss in a random hoodie. This, like, if anyone can guess where this hoodie came from, I will, however much Pingu tips Steve gets today, I will match that and send it to anyone who properly guesses where this came from without cheating by Google searching it.
Where that particular individual San Francisco 49ers hoodie came from, like, personally, or like there's a story behind the design?
I mean, if anyone has it, they'll know where it came from. Or if anyone, I can't give too many hints, it'll definitely give it away, but I believe there was only one way to secure this particular hoodie.
Only one way to secure that particular.
It's something that I don't even know if exists anymore. I think it exists, but I would have to double check.
See, if it were like a Super Bowl champs hoodie, I'd say it'd come with like the championship DVD or something. But
you're close. That's not it, but you're heading the right direction. You're warm.
Is it I noticed the cut on it now. Is it a women's hoodie? Haha, just kidding. had to. I don't know. Yeah, I was like, yeah. You stole it from your high school girlfriend. I'm just trying to. No, I like be a bigger flex if you're like dated a 49ers cheerleader. Actually, that would be
I have a story about related to that, but we'll have to save that for an afternoon show. It's not. It's not family friendly, but it's at least earmuffs type of a story.
Yeah,
the full story is definitely not family friendly, but I can tell a PG-13 related story related to an NFL cheerleader.
Yeah.
We'll save that for another time.
Side note, cold open thing again. Like, retweet, comment on the room. We're gonna bring Think on here in a minute to just kind of chat through what they're building. Former 6079 team, Think team, putting together some really cool stuff with AI agents and protecting your data. So we'll talk to them in a little bit.
Oh my God,
what's that?
We got a winner. Winner, chicken dinner.
Well,
when you used to get a subscription to Sports Illustrated, they used to send you a hoodie. This is a 1990s. This is literally from the 1900s. This hoodie is from the 1900s, Steve. It was from a Sports Illustrated subscription, the free hoodie with the Sports Illustrated subscription.
Now,
Sports Illustrated still does exist, right? In magazine form, or is it dead?
I think it is still.
I have no idea.
Yeah, magic. I mean, it's so funny that they say that because well, a couple things on that. Number one, you don't have to match my abstract tips today. I know you didn't think anyone was going to get that. It's almost like you just had the scene in Happy Gilmore where
you know what? I'll give Von Frunten the option. I'll either match your abstract tips today and send to Von Frunten, or I will send Von Frunten this ape chain beanie I'll send this to Miss and said. We won't tell him that I was already supposed to send it to him. And I misplaced it.
Wait, didn't we send it directly to his address?
Well, no, it's on me. I was supposed to send this to Von Frunten, and I realized it was still in the ape chain bag this morning. So Von Frunten, congratulations, you've won an ape chain beanie.
Which, by the way, Von Frunten, spoiler alert, you were supposed to get that anyway. Cap and I picked it up for you in France, and I had your address from like everything token stuff. So, or no, actually, when I ordered some Doodle stuff, so got the address to Cap, and we were going to surprise you.
Congratulations and surprise all at once.
I forgot that we hadn't, because you're right. Like, I should have expected we would have heard something because I know Von Frunten, he's a very kind friend who appreciates things. So I thought, like, I was like, I didn't realize. I'm like, yeah, I guess it is odd that he didn't mention anything about it, but that's okay. But yeah, no. So Von Frunten, he said, basically, for those who don't know, Cap and I were in Paris. Von Frunten kindly asked us to pick up a beanie if they existed. At the time, they were actually out of them, and Cap and I didn't even have them. We get them. We get some ape chain bags.
We secured like black market ape chain merch. Like they were completely out, and we secured some for ourselves, and then go ahead.
And then one item, which was Von Frunten, and so we clicked on the same time. We did it again. We basically secured 3. We're like, can we get a third because we have a friend who really wants one? And the plan was, and then we're like, can we surprise him? I'm a big surprise guy. I love surprises. I like to surprise people. And so we had the address and we were going to send it. But it is actually perfect us that it happened this way. That like, I don't know, like it feels appropriate that we're like, you know what? Oh, that little thing. So anyway, so Von Frunten surprise ruined, but not exactly. So I think this is almost a better way to do it. It feels more appropriate to the show. One thing I'll say before we get out of it, Cap, it's a good hoodie. You know why I think you got ripped off with the Sports Illustrated subscription? You did not get the football phone.
Yeah, actually, I might have got an option. I actually have 2 of these. So I think I might have actually selected the hoodie over the football phone.
That's like Outer Lewin going Party Penguins over Pudgy Penguins right there.
You have to remember though, this is in an era where like I was selling, well, not quite then. Actually, it might have been like late 1900s. It might have been early 2000s, but I was selling cell phones, and this is back when half the country didn't even have a cell phone yet. So a big sales pitch was cut the cord. And so like landline phones were like the arch nemesis for a while. They were the enemy.
Yeah.
I couldn't go supporting landline phones.
If I had, I may look for one on the secondary market. I wonder what they're going for right now. I'm going to go look, because if I could get a Sports Illustrated football phone that came with that, I would get it and probably put it in my background. I mean, come on. Or one of the old school Nickelodeon phones they would sell that was like clear with all the neon wires and stuff inside of it. Man, that's good.
Everyone our age owned one of those phones at one point.
One thing I miss that they don't do anymore is, man, when like this year, like Ohio State wins the national title, I want to order that Sports Illustrated, get a football that has the score on it, the championship DVD, like, because the championship DVD always starts, like, it starts off with maybe them losing to Michigan and Jack Sawyer freaking out on the field, and they rewind to the beginning of the season and get their way through it. Like, that's Homer Simpson phone, another great call. But here, that's oh man, people feeling the nostalgia this morning. So Cap, we got a few things to cover before we bring on the Think team again. Last ask, we're like retweet.
Cheap. Actually, I have no idea because apparently I have a VPN on because my eBay is showing me some foreign currency that's not American dollars, whatever our dollar sign is.
You're doing the conversion.
I have no idea. I don't think they're cheap, but yeah, they are. There is a few to be had on eBay. They still look insanely rare though.
Yeah, I'll have to check. I can't even find them when I went through Google Shopping, so that's one problem there. But no, those are the throwbacks. Those sorts of things that sometimes pop into your mind. It's just, you really don't, like, sometimes I see them and I'm like, I gotta get that thing. Yeah, I can't even find the football phone on eBay that you're looking at. So I don't know. It's oh, there we go.
Green Edge asked why the Niners. I'm actually a Niners fan. I grew up in Central Ohio in the 80s, and at that time, I could have I was in Central Ohio, so I could have chose the Bengals or the Browns, and naturally I chose Joe Montana, Jerry Rice, and the Super Bowl champion 49ers at a young age.
Vintage 1985. See, this could get dangerous because they have like a certificate of authenticity, and I don't know this is exactly what I'm looking for here, but here I'll find I got to find my actual window to share because I have a gazillion windows open, and StreamYard's open somewhere. Hopefully I'm still live right now. I don't know. Oh, there we are. Okay. Like, I'm sitting there talking to myself. I'm like, did I close the StreamYard? A little vintage 1985 Super Bowl. What is that? 19. That can't be right. Oh my God, the math. Super Bowl 19 was in 1985. That feels so wrong based on time frame, but here we are. Doritos football phone with box and instructions. This is, oh my God, look at that. Look at that. That is a beaut right there. These are the reasons why, if you ever questioned, if you don't see my background on sitting on here on StreamYard, I love
has Web3 given us basically a full-on blanket card to just buy all this nostalgic collectible stuff? We just have free reign to just we have an excuse to just buy like a $90 football phone that we're never going to use just for a background item, right?
Yeah, I know. I mean, honestly, not even. It's just, the older you get, you just want to own shit. Like, I have a brick from the deli. I'd gotten it for my dad, and then when he passed away, I have it. I have a brick from the deli that Sopranos used to be filmed at outside when they knocked it down. Like, I got him a brick from it, or like a rare brick. Like, I like that sort of stuff. That sort of stuff is fun to me.
Diablito says he's going to look for one of these SI hoodies now so that you could still have matchy hoodies one more day a week. I may just have to, if I can find my second one, it's not ripped, but if I can find it in storage somewhere, I will rip it and send it to you. So the chances of me actually going to the UPS store and sending not one, but 2 packages this week are very slim to none. But if I can find the other matching one, I will ship it to Steve. So
I'm just waiting for like 6 months from now. I'm wearing a San Francisco hoodie. Von Frunten still doesn't have his hat. Good thing you sent him in just in time for it to warm up, although the Midwest is being cold. So, yeah, but no, that was a funny one. I forgot you show that hat. I'm like, wait a minute, because I forgot that we didn't ship it directly to him from there, and that's right. So, either way, so a couple things to go over this morning. We have I wanted to give like an update on Pirate Nation just because like they tried to respond to the feedback yesterday, so that happened. Ross Ulbrich is speaking at the Bitcoin conference. Katoshi On-Chain Monkey sold out, cooked, and is having somebody is going to get a very high priced raffle that they're going to win today by owning an OCM Katoshi that was minted. That's happening. That was a good little carrot to dangle for people to want to mint and hold. SEC approving spot trading on Ethereum ETFs, meaning that people can finally short Ethereum and actually make money on Ethereum, which is good. Magic Eden Slingshot, I don't think we really hit on recently. So Couple things there going on.
Yesterday too. Yeet launched, and it seems like to a positive reception. About 2 million in volume, I think. It's a online casino from Keyboard Monkey and Mando, or one of the Mando OFS duo. I think it's Mando. Someone check me. I'm pretty sure it's Keyboard Monkey and Mando are the founders of Yeet.
Yeah, I think that sounds correct. And then the other thing is like Bitcoin continues to cook. Fartcoin continues to outperform. Like lots of interesting things going on. I guess like kind of starting with Bitcoin. And I cashed this morning so a little bit more. So I mentioned before, if nobody's on this, so I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna share my referral link just shamelessly.
You should change the abstract link too from Mintify to Big while you're talking about it.
Oh, that's a good call. I'm gonna do that, like little professional move, to go and change it to Bitcoin, which is a top one because we are talking about it here. So, and honestly, actually, the referrals are worth like nothing, so I'm probably not going to share a referral. I got like 2 the other day when we were talking about it, but the so basically, if you didn't do this yesterday, we talked about it. It's like you basically can. This is free money. You go on Bitcoin for like $7 or something. You get this like sort of free miner or whatever, this like potato miner that I'm showing on the screen right now. And it mines a certain amount of this Bitcoin. It's a little like 2D bedroom. They have this music that plays out of this jukebox. It's kind of like funky. One of them sounds like a 80s song if Axel Foley is chasing down the villain and nearly getting caught. I bought a couple of extra miners at the time when it was way less expensive, when Bitcoin was like $2 or something like that. It shot up to like $12, $15, something insane yesterday. Settled in a little bit, but basically just mines, you claim, and then I am cashing it to USD. So I have booked the win, more than booked the win. Turns out I should have gone more all in on this thing because the price keeps going up, and there are people who are printing tons of money off initials on this thing and making more and more. But I printed conservatively and cashed out my money that I paid for these little raspberry miners and for this potato miner, but the price keeps going up. What I like about this, Cap, is that one, if you're not getting caught up in buying and you're just playing it conservatively or somewhat smart, you're making money. Anyone who really got, involved in this in the past few days is making money. But I like this because like we all know that this is a house of cards. Like every single person playing this is like, this isn't going to last forever. At some point, this is going to come down and crash. And people are just playing their way to the edge, trying to cash out initials. Like, okay, I'm going to get this next miner, this next miner, this next miner. Because, this 6 Bitcoin a day that I was mining at one point with just my little potato miner over here was like 40 a day. And then it just slowly goes down.
90 a day now. You're almost $100 a day.
Yeah. Well, no, I meant like just Bitcoin a day. It's like 40 Bitcoin a day. But now
I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
And 90, I mean, big is up to almost $15, Steve. I don't know if you saw it this morning, but yeah, it's continues to cook.
Yeah. I mean, I cashed another like $100 this morning out of it. So it's been a few days. And I'm cashing like $100, $200 a day on this thing at the moment. It's not going to last very long. And like, I'm doing very minimal things. So I'm not recommending taking my strategy because when I got these little raspberry miner things, it was significantly less cost. It was like 70 big when big was like $2. So, and actually this one, or maybe 20 big when big was $2. So these are like 40 each. And this one was $7 to start. So I invested like $87. And then I just sat there and, let it cook for the past like 3, 4, 5 days, whatever it is. Again, it's just like a fun thing. I actually feel like Abstract's doing a really good job right now with these random, exciting, like, I don't know how deliberate it is, but we had road tracing that people were excited about. They turned on streaming, which people got excited about. They got gacha, which people got excited about. And then there's some people who like the Captain and Company. I'm not a fan. There's some people who like some of the other games on there that I wasn't, super into that, like I didn't play On-Chain Heroes. I have an On-Chain Hero. I really like Gigaverse. I play it every single day. I feel like Abstract is doing pretty well. Like, I feel like there's a lot of things on here that I'm enjoying using and they're keeping me engaged. You're just sort of streaming and now doing this, right? But do you think you're going to get a little more involved in Abstract or other, like Myriad markets? I do every single day. Like, I feel like I don't know. Like, I feel like Abstract is quietly, I'm not saying that they don't have a lot of TG or TVL. So that's an issue, right? The TVL is low. And I saw them trying to downplay that metric. It's an important metric. But from a like user perspective, I feel like it's a pretty good product.
It has potential. I think from my perspective, their strengths right now, it is their portal. It's the streaming. They have a home base, which most chains don't. Or it's just a landing page, and they actually have a home base that people go back to on a daily basis. I think that's good. Certainly there's opportunity for improvement there as well, but I think it's got potential. My concern is, like, to your point, like, we all know Big's a Ponzi. It's a house of cards. At some point the music's going to stop. It's just a question of, it's not if, it's when will the music stop. It's fun. They've got, like everything you just mentioned, fun degen activity. Where my concern comes in is they're building a consumer chain, and they don't have any sticky consumer dApps yet, from my perspective. It's all degen stuff that this space is enjoying. I just, like, there's no one in our, like, daily lives that's not already here that we're going to onboard to a Ponzi. There's, like, my concern is, like, what's next? I think, like, and really, reality is one killer dApp can make a chain at this point. There's just so few consumer dApps out there. Most of them don't have one, and that's a concern. It's like, where they're having success is almost the opposite of what they're building for, right? Like, I said this in War earlier, like, it's the irony is they're building a consumer dApp or a consumer chain, but yet their successful dApps are degen dApps. Like, it's not a big deal. Like, it's fine. I think a consumer chain is going to have all this stuff, but I just, that's like, what's next after TGE? Because I do believe that some of this activity is people are farming points, and this is like, what can I do to farm points? Oh, I'd rather farm points via a Ponzi than buy a new NFT mint that's going to, race to zero. So that's the concern. Like, I think they've got a lot of potential. They've done a lot of good things. It's just, I hope they delay TGE. It's just, I mean, we can get into the Wayfinder TGE here later, but just, not only was it a botched launch, like, those investors, I think we're looking at multiple billions in terms of FDV, and it's well under $1 billion. I don't think it's a good time for TGE. And so, like, let's say TGE, it flops, then what is the state of the chain? I don't see people still playing big post TGE.
Interesting. Yeah, because you're right. Like, that's actually fair. It's like, are people just doing this to farm points? Because, like, I mean, this is like the challenge that you have when you're trying to do what, a quote unquote consumer chain, is that you have to keep people interested while, like us, to get users, while at the same time you build for consumers. I do think the experience of single sign-on is great. I think the experience of loading up the cash there is great. I think the experience of, swapping has now gotten a lot easier and better. I like certain games. I know other people like certain games. I mean, I think the scratch tickets always, like, gotcha have legs because people like scratch tickets. I think, things like Gigaverse, I enjoy it. My kids play it. I know other people's kids play it. So I think the games that are actually games is helpful. And I know Dunk Cookie says they have a lot in the pipeline. They're working with one of their big consumer brands on Abstract, so that's good.
And to your point, I mean, this is Be Epic in the Abstract chat again, bringing some quality, quality points. I think Abstract Whales team need this to win, to bring others. For instance, the Soul degen casino participants and enjoyers. So for Abstract peeps, like, think like this is phase one, is attracting the degens, gives them an opportunity to continue to build while they land that consumer dApp that's going to bring in the normies. Because everything, like, yeah, it's not a bad user experience. The UI is fine. I'm not, like, taking shots. I'm just being honest. Like, there's nothing there yet that I could see any normie coming to Abstract for.
Yeah, and I see in the Abstract chat, it's like their games are games you have to play. Their games are not games you have to pay to play and can still win. I do like that aspect, like, sort of that freemium model again. Like, I think they're doing a good job. But yeah, I think that's a fair point, is like, who are they building for?
And in the state of the market, that's the strategy, I think, all around. like big. It was like $7 to get started. A lot of these games are low cost. A lot of the the mints on Ape Chain that are being successful, they're free or very low cost mints. Like in this current market, I just you got to go low to free cost if you want to build it. If you want to catch any momentum out of the gates, I'm not saying brands and projects shouldn't charge a premium if they feel they can deserve it. And there's some, as we've seen, they'll sell out, they'll raise their mint funds. There's no marginal buyers. So if you charge a premium price, you may raise your mint goal. You're going to quickly lose momentum, and people are going to move on because their bags are going to be cut in half. And it's just like momentum's really important out of the gate. And if you mint out at twice the price of the secondary market says that they're valuing something at, it's really hard to recapture any sort of momentum, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I think that that's something that you can run into. By the way, like, got a DM, won't say from who because I don't know if they didn't want to because they DM'd it, but they mentioned like the only true consumer chain you can really think of maybe is Flow, right? Like Flow is actually a consumer chain. Like they did get normal people on with things like NBA Top Shot. It's just, that was a thing that, or they have Ticketmaster, they have Live Nation, they have, so they have like actual consumer dApps and applications. It's one of those chains. Flow, I think if more people like learn about it, they'll realize what they can do and what they are doing and how they are growing and how they're like looking at the right metrics of trying to get the right users. And, Flow, I think, is the type of chain where it's like they need the devs. And once they get enough devs on board, because like I've talked to probably 5 chains at this point who say, hey, if you know anybody or any devs out there, let me know. If you know any devs out there, let me know. And I think Flow is one of those ones that it's like, if they can get the firepower behind it, like they have a lot of opportunity because they have those ins with big brands. They have Disney on there. Disney is licensing their IP with the pins, and Disney pins are a big deal. So I think a lot of stuff happening there. It's a good call out. Obviously, BZ are one of our sponsors on Flow, and we love the BZ, and assumedly our community loves the BZ. We've gotten some good posts the past couple weeks on that.
Yeah, no, for sure. I would add maybe Polygon into consideration there that, I know they lost some of those big brands and some of those consumer dApps that they might have launched initially, but I think they're doing, my read and talking to those guys is they're building out to take a similar approach as the Flow team has.
Yeah, I would say those two come to mind as the ones that we don't talk about on crypto Twitter. I guess AVAX as well, off the grid, California driver's licenses. Kind of hits onto another piece of news. VanEck filed for an AVAX ETF. And I don't know, man. Like, I'm starting to wonder, like, are we, like, AVAX is one that might have demand, right? But we see all these ETFs coming out. Are we just going to end up where there's an ETF for every, like, major currency, and it's going to get put into a basket, and we're going to see demand? Like, I do worry about these getting overlooked.
Next is much more likely. I think what's going to happen, I think we'll see something like, I don't think it'll be Solana. I think Solana will do fine. I think after that, though, I think anything other than Bitcoin, ETH, and Solana, I think the very first ETF, crypto ETF after that, I think is going to flop miserably, and that'll be the end of it.
It's like ICOs, but for ETFs.
Yeah, I think that someone's going, like, they're going to keep attempting it, but I think once one gets approved and has virtually zero demand, like, who's buying that? Now, I could see if you want to put AVAX into like a crypto index fund, sure, but I just don't buy there's any real institutional demand for something like an AVAX ETF. Maybe I'm completely wrong there, but I don't see that happening. I don't see your Morgan Stanley and your Edward Jones advisors starting, you need to allocate 1% of your portfolio to AVAX. Like, where I do see that happening with ETH, Bitcoin, and Solana, I think that anything outside of those big three, I think it'll fail. I think it'll crash and burn pretty hard. It's not a shot on AVAX. I just don't think it's the right fit. And I think after that, then I think we'll see the end of these B-tier crypto ETFs.
So it's interesting. Do you like...
I throw it into a index fund, though, probably. I'd move some of my IBIT or other 401k stuff into probably into an index fund.
Yeah, because, like, I don't know, because I could actually go a different there. I don't think just for funsies, I could say that, like, there's a couple worlds I could see. One, no demand, because I think we look at it as like, if there's not demand for ETH, why would there be demand for Sol, AVAX, anything else, right? On the flip side of that, is there a world where AVAX performs and these other ETFs perform like a trad business? Is there a world where people say, well, AVAX has off the grid and AVAX has California and AVAX could be building these things, and then traditional investors say, I value it. Like, is there a world where the stock market pushes a blockchain because they get an ETF and they actually have that, like they actually have that sort of, they have that sort of like, you know, basically like hype from the stock market. I don't know. That's one of those things that I wonder if that could happen with something like an AVAX, because they do have like a legitimate product. I see Drew jumped up with their hand up. Drew, go ahead and get in here. GM.
Yeah, GM. I was gonna say, the Coinbase top 50. I have had a ton of conversations with people looking at that as obviously the top 3, Bitcoin, ETH, etc. is going to lead that. And so if you look at the top 50 with the latter half of what Coinbase is doing, that's kind of where you have the delta of it actually making some moves. You kind of want to deviate off of just BTC leading crypto going up or going down, which a lot of people actually look at and like that as a better opportunity than just being in kind of the top 4 individualistically.
Yeah, it's an interesting perspective for sure. And it could be that. And so I think there are theories where something like an AVAX or some of these other chains that are super these AVAX or these chains that are like actually can potentially have consumer opportunity, can have that breakout, give people diversification from the traditional Bitcoin and some other ones. Diablito randomly say, anyone want to buy a Super Yeti in the chat? I have a Super Yeti. That is an awesome Super Yeti. It is Shenanigan Super Yeti. So love those. We should do one day where we just go old school NFT stuff. That said, when go ahead, Cap.
It's not really that important. Go ahead. I saw the SBF got moved to California, a notorious hard prison in California.
Oof. I thought he was in the Puff Daddy prison.
Same.
Yeah.
Apparently, this is a result of his unsanctioned interview with Tucker Carlson. But why would they help me understand if that's true? Why would someone move states? I guess federal prison, you can move them across the country.
Wait, what does that mean? Unsanctioned interview with Tucker Carlson? Like, what does that even mean? Like, how do you have
trouble for it? He apparently wasn't supposed to do it. He somehow got access to his laptop or phone or something, and they apparently he got in trouble for doing the interview when he didn't have approval to do it.
That's wild that a guy in a prison is able to do something that is unauthorized. Like, how do you, like, I mean, he didn't even make, what do you call it, hooch? He didn't even make hooch. He just did an interview. It's, that is a bizarre thing that they're like, yeah, it was like, how do you let that happen? And I guess maybe to a degree, like I'm
going to talk to my attorney, whatever, something like that. And then it turns into, let's sneak in an interview with Tucker Carlson.
That's wacky. I mean, you're in prison. That should be pretty locked down by definition, quite literally. That is an interesting one. Yeah.
That was
Mesh was unsanctioned in a secure prison. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I guess it's probably like the prison people don't know the rules of what he's not allowed to talk about, but it's yeah, it's Diablito saying he drank some hooch and got online. So I guess I don't know. Like he had a little bit of hooch, texted Tucker Carlson, you up, and boom, next thing you know, they're doing an interview. I don't know. But I was talking a little AVAX. I did see that this morning, and I hit it with the more you know on AVAX.
The more you know, brought to you by ENS.
Time for the more you know, brought to you by our friends over at ENS. We put out actually a tweet yesterday about Para, their partner that is helping them do single wallet sign-on. So you can see that if you go to my profile. We'll pin it up top here in a little bit. But we're talking a little AVAX, Avalanche, if you are not familiar why we're calling it AVAX, the Dorito chip. We saw Doritos phone. AVAX is the Dorito chip, launched in 2020. It introduced breakthrough consensus model with sub-second finality and insane scalability, thousands of transactions per second without sacrificing security or decentralization. Is it like magic. Subnets, custom blockchains that let developers launch tailored ecosystems, and they've taken off from DeFi apps like Trader Joe to gaming apps like Shrapnel and Off the Grid, which we've talked about many times, a AAA shooter game that has its own Avalanche subnet. Avalanche is taking on a lot of different avenues. We've obviously talked about Arena on here as well, which just introduced streaming, but it's not just for DeFis and gamers. It's also working with governments. In 2024, they partnered with the California DMV to digitize car titles and driver's licenses, bringing real-world assets and identity to the blockchain, something that I've talked about in my book and other places. And those really quote-unquote boring applications. When I was writing my book, I constantly had my editor saying, we need more boring applications, not just sort of these super fun, whimsical ones. And this was certainly one of them. But whether it's launching a subnet, minting an NFT, or tokenizing a car, Avalanche is providing that speed, customization, and real-world utility that can coexist together. AVAX isn't just fast, it's an evolving blockchain that is continuing to drive things forward. And that was The More You Know, brought to you by ENS. ENS does more than you know, not just anchoring your name across Web3, but anchoring it across the internet. It's your identity, simple, memorable, unmistakably yours. Security, interoperability, and ease of use. Go to ENS domains to learn more and secure your ENS domain. But yeah, I wonder if there is a world where these what if a blockchain, I just hit my mic, it's probably very loud for the listeners. What if a blockchain can go to the stock market and break out there instead of in the traditional crypto world? Because in the crypto world, it might be like, hey, that's not number go up, me make money. Maybe AVAX goes in as an ETF. People say, this is applications, this is business, I understand this. This is a thesis I had a while ago on Ethereum, so I've been wrong on that from day one. But I do wonder if the story of it's a real business with real blockchain that real businesses can build on top of. If something could break out in the world that is not our world, I just wonder. You know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't break out in crypto Twitter, but it breaks out in the stock market.
Yeah, no. Dude, I'm really related but unrelated. I am really intrigued to see. It seems like we're on the precipice of stocks just going on chain and being traded 24/7. Like it feels inevitable. I think it's, I don't know if it's next year or 5 years from now, but I would guess probably within the next year, there's the ability to trade most of traditional equities 24/7. I think is just going to happen. And I think that could
Is that good or bad?
It's
going to change how companies have to operate with their reporting.
It will. Where I was going with this is I think it actually potentially could be another onboarder to crypto. I think others could, well, if it's good enough for the stock market, it's good enough for what we were talking about doing, right? I think there's this, I think it's like an instant, there's I don't know what the percentage is, but I believe there's a certain percentage of humans who think that this is all a scam and it's going to go away and it's a house of cards and to them, crypto and blockchain's all the same thing. Like there's no difference between Bitcoin and Bitcoin. Like I really think that's how most people think about this space. Not most, but some people. And I think if in a world where you can trade all these stocks on chain, I think then all of a sudden, this blockchain stuff is here to stay. I think it's just that it'll be another moment where it'll be like an unlock or an aha moment for some people who have just been resistant.
Yeah, and I think what's interesting about this one too is that I do feel like companies in general are I think a lot more companies than people realize are toying around with the idea of blockchain, but they're waiting for the moment to make it truly viable for their business so they can properly launch. So I think that's happening, but the stock market coming on chain would be sort of an aha open moment, or stocks coming on chain in general, like equities coming on chain in some capacity. And it's a logical way to do it too. So I think it's just one of those applications that it's well, duh, of course we should have this on chain. So yeah, I think that's for sure a possibility.
I have both of them entirely unrelated pieces of news that I'm just going to blurt out and then let you take it wherever you'd like. One, breaking news. The Browns have just signed Joe Flacco 2 weeks out from the draft. So their quarterback room is now Joe Flacco, Kenny Pickett, and Deshaun Watson. I'm actually kind of geeked. If Joe Flacco's their starting quarterback this year, giddy up. It's going to be fun. It's going to be fun in the fantasy streets. Second piece of news is you're all welcome in the war room for me bringing back the 1990s Sports Illustrated nostalgia. That's all I'm going to say.
As far as like the Flacco thing goes, and then I'll go to Mackie to get us back on track.
Talk the other 1990s Sports Illustrated theme.
I haven't even looked, honestly. I haven't been in the war room. I'm trying to keep up with abstract and everything else. I don't.
We used to be a civilized country, civilized world. We used to be a society.
I don't know, man. Like that just sounds like that just tells me that the Browns definitely have no plan for next year, and so they're gonna tank, which is fine with
Also
me.
tells me they're not drafting Shador at like they still need a quarterback of the future, but I don't think with those 3 quarterbacks under contract, I don't think there's any chance they're taking Shador early. I think to me, it's like Travis Hunter's in Cleveland, and I would be really excited about that. Like it's worth going 0-16 this year or 0-17 to not screw up and to pass on a generational talent in favor for a mid QB.
Yeah, it's best player available unless you absolutely have to do it, and there are business reasons why you do.
QB is not going to take them to the playoffs. They need more help than that.
Yeah, absolutely. I am full agreement on that. I think that we need to do a better. We need to like I don't want to like dive into like just to sell tickets and sell fake excitement. I don't want to dive into years of mediocrity with a mid QB. I want to I want to actually try to win football games in the future, which means sucking now. That said, I'll let Mackie get us back on track. Mackie, get in here.
All right, check. Mike working today?
You got it.
Hey, good. When I saw Hester Pierce speak last week, someone did ask her the question about when stock exchanges would be on blockchain, and she did say that there's like a ton of interest in doing it. So it's coming. You're 100% right, Cap. She didn't mention any people or any organizations who are doing it right now, but she wasn't exactly in like a full capacity representing, the SEC. She's representing herself in her own opinion. So I think she kept some stuff close to the chest, but it is very interesting to think about like that in particular, because I wonder how it will affect. I think some people come to crypto because it trades 24/7. And if they make it a little more accessible, like around the clock to trade something on the New York Stock Exchange, like, I don't know, does it affect our group? And yeah, the real question is what Steve asked is it good or bad? I don't know the answer to that.
Well, Jonah had a take on this, and I'm curious, people's thoughts. Like Jonah actually made the comment where he was like, look, like there's a, like when you look at like the stock market going on like that, it's like, does that basically make it so like is it bad for crypto if you can trade stocks 24/7 and they're on chain and you basically have a lot of the same things with equities that you previously had with crypto? Is it good or bad? I don't know. For crypto, I don't know if it's good or bad just to have people trading stocks 24/7, because those tie to, and I know like blockchains are being built with companies now, but when you look at Bitcoin, Ethereum, and look at this efficient decentralization, it's more of a, it trades like a commodity type instead. I just wonder, like, is it like, yes, is it bad to have companies being able to be traded 24/7? Because in a world of like quote unquote fake news and information, are we going to have someone say like, yeah, like Apple, I don't know, like Tim Cook, some bad story about Apple and just dumps billions of dollars overnight. And, I don't know. Like there's worries to that sort of thing to me on the stock. I guess it could happen intraday, but like 24/7 feels like a lot. It does change how you report, how you're going to like, look at like different ways of trading. So I don't know that it's bad. It's just, I don't know. I guess I'm just like not sure if trading stocks 24/7 is good or bad. I haven't really thought it through.
I just flopped the title. It'll probably be temporary, but this is like related but unrelated. Any thoughts on this DeFi bill that Trump signed? Or I guess he signed a bill to repel the DeFi bill. Is that right? You probably
what are the details? I saw someone mention this morning, but I have not dug in. Do you know the details?
I'll pull it up. So it's before I read it, let me share here so you can see.
Because I'll react in real time, but I am not. So you'll get my raw reaction.
He signed a bill to repel the crypto broker rule. It's the first crypto bill signed into law by Trump. It's Resolution 25, which disapproves of the rule submitted by the IRS related to gross proceeds reporting by brokers that regularly provide services, the digital asset sales. It's has something to do. I'm trying to see if I can find it. So it was called the DeFi crypto broker rule.
I can talk about this a little, Cap.
Yeah, I was hoping someone would be able to explain a little more because it seems like a big deal. Maybe it's just like heading in the right direction, but I guess I don't fully understand what the DeFi broker rule was. Or can you help educate us on that, Mackie?
Yeah, just a smidge. I have a pretty wide overview of it, but it's not very deep. Basically, I can't remember if it was the IRS or which regulator was asking
Was the IRS
DeFi protocols to like have a broker license to operate. And that was what was expected to go into effect. And I don't think it ever actually did. And this is repealing it entirely. So now it's not a worry anymore.
So they were basically having them register as sellers of securities previously, and now they no longer are. Is that understanding that right?
That's my understanding. I could be wrong, but it was a requirement that was put in place. I don't know if it was ever actually enacted.
It says no. This was introduced in the final days of the Biden administration. It would have required decentralized crypto entities such as exchanges without a central governing body to comply with traditional IRS reporting requirements. So this impacts
Uniswap,
like the
DAOs, all these things.
Yeah, like the Uniswaps of the world, like all any DEX. This would have could potentially had big ramifications. So specifically, it would have mandated DeFi platforms to collect and send customer data as well as information on gross proceeds to crypto sales to the IRS. Critics argued that the mandate was overly burdensome, risked stifling innovation, invaded user privacy, and would have significantly hindered growth in the DeFi sector. The rule would undermine American leadership in cryptocurrency. I'm grateful to President Trump for signing the resolution to the law. That was, I presume, Ted Cruz, who attended this signing ceremony Thursday afternoon. The resolution is victory for innovation, privacy, and economic freedom. We are protecting developers who are building the future of cryptocurrency. I'm not going to read the rest of this, but yeah, it basically would have required all non-DEXs and all non-centralized, anyone without any DAOs, like you said, to essentially, as I interpret that, like to KYC their customers and report all those transactions to the IRS.
Yeah, it would have made them yet again the middleman on so many things. One thing I do want to comment on in regard to this, though, is the obvious conflict of interest of having Trump sign this when he's running World Liberty Fi is pretty stark. Like it's World Liberty Fi is a DeFi platform, and it's pretty wild to see a president, like sitting president, get to do this at the same time. Like I love the regulatory changes that Trump has brought, but I am really concerned about the conflicts of interest that I see.
I think so. It's funny because I generally agree on that sort of thing, and I actually agree with. And I, by the way, also agree with this point. But I'm going to make sort of like a sort of lightly fallacious pushback that in the sense that one, I want to say up front, you are right. There is a conflict of interest, obviously, right? But he'll tell you he's not running it currently because obviously it's not, they've done the proper separations from a legal and paperwork perspective. So that's happening. But number two, and this doesn't mean this is correct, but it is funny because I feel like this has happened for a very long time in all things congressional related and presidential related. When you look at some of the conflicts of interest with Dick Cheney and the Iraq War and some other things that happened in the past. And so my inclination is that, yes, you are correct, and I feel the same way, but it's also I feel as though this has been happening for a very long time, and it's a thing that we have seen in the past from other administrations. It's kind of been below the under the rug or kind of behind the scenes. This is just blatantly out in the open that it's your kids are running this fund and this this protocol that would have to this fund that would have to theoretically do this reporting. You're making it so they don't, feels a little bit, but it's also on the flip side, I also think it's probably the right move. I need to dig in more. I always don't want to talk about things where I'm not as well researched as I'd like to be. This is one of those areas where I'd like to dig in more just to see exactly how I feel about it. But my gut feeling is that this feels correct. So it's almost I'm not excusing it. I'm not saying it's the right thing. I'm not saying it doesn't have a conflict of interest, which I agree. I think the conflict of interest is not varied from previous administrations that we've seen. It just so happens that we're seeing a conflict of interest very obviously out in the public right now, which I think is, again, concerning, but and not better because it's happening. But it's also the reason why I'm not why I'm trying to like think it through is, one, I want to make sure I read it and fully understand the details, so I'm giving you my real time reaction. But two, I also want to ensure that I'm paying attention to my own personal biases of, am I cooler with this because it's favorable to something that I believe in and it moves things forward, and I'm like, hey, better is better. And I work in this industry versus how I might feel if it were a stock related one, for example. Like, so I'm trying to like react in real time, being like, am I being biased by my own personal perspective from where I sit, or am I truly enjoying this as a ruling because it feels like it's correct? So I don't know. That's sort of a...
Two things can be true, Steve. That's always important to remember. I agree with you entirely. It feels like the right decision, but it also feels tainted. That's all.
Yeah, like correct decision yet icky are probably my ruling, at least at the moment. Is maybe the official, to use a very official word, icky. It feels a little icky. I see Gary popped up. Gary, go ahead and get in here, GM.
Hey, Jim, everybody. Can you hear me all right?
Sound good?
Okay, very good. Yeah, I mean, we could say the opposite thing about, like with what we were just saying about Trump. We could say that about Biden, that Biden has a financial interest in a traditional financial system, and so they're making these rules to hurt crypto and hurt DeFi, and that was unfair that the Bidens had a vested interest in the hurting crypto. With this bill, though, this is the way that I understand it, a big win, not just for DeFi protocols and DAOs and decentralized organizations. This is a big win for you, you listening. This means that it's more legal for you as an individual to have a self-custody wallet, what they call a self-custody wallet. It's like a MetaMask wallet or a Ledger or a Trezor. Because with this bill and the direction this bill was going, it basically would have been illegal for you to just send somebody else cryptocurrency, especially over a certain amount, without getting that person's, full KYC information, name, address, phone number, possibly social security number, which is just, kind of unreasonable, right? Imagine if every time someone sent you money or you received money or a cryptocurrency or an NFT, if you had a full KYC them, right? It's super impractical. A self-custody wallet is just open source code. A self-custody wallet is just math. So just having code, having math, it's all a form of free speech. It's all a form of free expression. And the access to code and cryptography should be protected. Even though, Trump's family has World Liberty Fi, I'm definitely glad that our freedoms as individuals are more secure, that we can have self-custody wallets without having to go through these erroneous KYC rules as individuals.
Yeah, and I think that part of it, I'm glad you got to the second part, because you started out, I think it's called the tu quo out fallacy. It's the sort of like whataboutism and you too type thing, which I actually had this conversation related to Kaido recently, where everybody who was responding to Kaido, when I was like, I don't know, like feels a little like undisclosed ad, doesn't feel great. Like maybe it's just incentivized, but I was talking about it and a lot of people were like, well, this was happening before Kaido. And I'm like, well, that doesn't mean that it's okay. Like I don't walk up, like the example I use is like, I don't say to myself like, man, we've had a big shoplifting problem here, but you know what? Like, at least we're not getting armed robbery. Like that's not like the way it's like, no, you solved the shoplifting problem. But at the same time, so I'm glad that you went into the actual reasoning, which you did, to logically say like, look, the things that I like about what you said is that what I don't like about crypto and what has always made me nervous is I try to follow the rules to my best of my ability. I follow the taxes to my best of my ability. We try to like do things by the law. Cap sent me a tax form the other day. It was like, like probably off by less than 5% based on the calculations I was putting, but we corrected it. So we try to do things by the book. At the same time, or I should say, building on that, what I like about what you said is like, what I hate about crypto, or what makes me worried about crypto, I should say, in the United States, is like, I can do everything by the book and they can still be like, gotcha, motherfucker, because this law technically says this, and you sent a transaction from one MetaMask to the other. So therefore, you're getting slapped with this fine or this issue. And it allows for sort of selective prosecution or selective charging based on somebody, where they could say like, I'm going to slap a non-enforced, never used penalty on you because I know I can, right? Because I can, and I have a particular other reason It's kind of like when OJ Simpson went to jail for like stealing all his like stuff back in that Las Vegas hotel, but really murder, right? It's like sort of slap you with another thing. And I think that that sort of thing can happen. And by the way, OJ deserved those charges, should have gone to jail, but like, harsher sentence because of it. So it's like the idea that I could like, if somebody wanted to go after you and be like, get him, I don't know, like plant he sent money from one Madam Mask to the other on there. So I like that reasoning and that logic behind it to kind of toss out that aspect of it. And again, I know we're going to probably guest in a little bit here. They are on the West Coast, so we'll make sure they are up and at 'em and ready to go. The other couple other things, like, I mean, Katoshi cooked. I thought that was interesting. Did want to throw that out there. Like, I host spaces for On-Chain Monkey. I believe the sale was somewhere in the $200 to $300 range. If you got one, you could have been selling those for significantly more. I mean, even now, if you're looking at a Katoshi Prime, if you minted one of those, which are now revealed, they're going for about $500. They're going for about $1,000 yesterday. The Katoshi Classics are about around mint price. So if you got a classic, you're around mint price, but you could have been up yesterday if you sold pre-reveal. And one of the people who got one of these reveals from the Katoshis is going to win a Celestial, which is their sort of mega one, which is probably going to sell at quite a premium. There's not many people who hold those. Charlie Lee, our guy JBrush, Mark Yusko, Morgan Creek Capital. So it's a pretty exclusive club. Someone's going to enter that like 1 of 8 club in the On-Chain Monkey community. So I don't know. Ordinals Cook's still alive, despite, I guess, like the question.
I saw you. Did you miss the mint? Because you were planning on it, right?
Yes.
Did you get one?
Nope. I done fucked up. So I was planning on minting a Katoshi, host spaces for them, had all the details, told people all the details. Tuesday, because they did Katoshi in a way without getting into the technicals, Danny Yang basically explained they did like tech that hadn't been done before because they always want to do something new from the tech side. It's like his canvas. That's what he paints on, is the tech. And Magic Eden platform crashed. And so I didn't mint Tuesday when I had it open. They reminted Wednesday at noon. I had forgotten, even though I had the site open. I went to Starbucks, got a coffee, came back, and it sold out because it sold out in 20 minutes. So one, selling out in this market, I think impressive regardless. That's a very, very good sellout. Number two, I did want to ask you this question because and we'll get to Mikey here in a second and bring him up to talk a little bit of think. Want to get your take on this because Joey Vowles and I were having a discussion. I don't have a strong opinion, by the way, but I'm curious. He said like Katoshi Prime, which is their they have Celestial, which is like their one of ones. Then they have Katoshi Prime, which is the next level. And then they have Katoshi Classic, which is sort of the base level. They have 3 separate collections. And Joey was saying, like, why do they have 3 separate collections? That's confusing. That would be like having gold apes and non-gold apes. I'm like, no. That would actually be like if M1s, M2s, and Megas were different collections, right? And I actually can see arguments both ways on one. And I think it has to do with like Bitcoin and how it's coded anyway for confusion purposes. But I confuse M1s and M2s. And you can break up levels of utility. I think there's a lot of reasons to potentially do it. I will say, like, on one hand, all-in collection sorted by metadata is interesting. On the other hand, I don't know, like, I looked at watches recently. I have the Hamilton Khaki Scuba Auto, which is, like, again, less than an Apple Watch. But then there's Hamilton Khaki Field. They're both Hamilton Khakis. They have different styles, different features, different reasons you would buy them. They're different collections, right? They're not the same watch that you, like, put a drop-down on. So I don't know. Curious your take on that drop choice of, like, 3 separate collections for the secondary collection to clearly delineate them versus having them in one collection that you need to then sort and filter like an M1 or an M2.
I mean, it's fine. It's confusing to me as well, but it's fine. I just think it's one of those things where we talk about onboarding. It creates a little bit more complexity, a little bit more need to study or have like kind of some hand-holding into a collection or a community. It's fine. It's just like, I think I don't know if there's a right or wrong way to build out collections and, secondary collections. I don't have an issue with it. It also like wasn't anything that got me excited to and I still hold a Karma on ETH. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know why I'm apathetic to the whole thing. It's just
you faded so much money by being apathetic. It's like it's incredible. Like you're not bridging was like thousands of dollars, and then you're like kind of like I still have a karma on ETH. Could bridge
I don't know. I actually
sell.
ended up selling the OCM Genesis for I'm pretty sure it's more than what it is now. So I did fine. Like it was definitely a W. I booked a win on that, but
Oh yeah, but like big win because when you bridged, if you bridged, there was like airdrops and things that were like thousands of dollars and stuff, and you're like, I don't care. I'm standing on business that it was a pain in the ass, and I don't feel like I got it over in time. And I don't feel like I got enough information. But no, the multi collection thing, I guess, is like you said, like to some it's confusing, but I wonder if it's more. I'm trying to get myself out of crypto brain. Is it more consumer logical? Because like
I'm just curious. Like, was it successful in bringing new community members in? I have no idea. I didn't look. I wasn't in a Discord. If so, then cool, successful mint. If not, what's the point? Would be where I land out on it.
Yeah, they definitely brought some new community members in. Some old community members got excited. There was like actually several new ones that hopped up on the space yesterday that I was on, and sort of like a welcome apes type thing, right? Where like, and then like the way they welcome people on, it was like Bordosaka's friend who came on, who's an artist, right? And so it's like, I don't know, any friend of Bordosaka's a friend of mine. So it's like that was like, a nice thing to see. So I think they did a pretty good job. And maybe to put a pin in it to talk about another time as a evergreen topic, but I think it didn't hit me until Joey asked the question of why 3 different collections. Because I was like, yeah, it's a good question. I was like, well, wait a minute. In every product we use, they have variations where it's like, it's not like if I go to buy a Tesla, it's like there's this confusing sort through of like, no, make sure it's not the Model 3, it's the Model S. It's like, no, you buy a Model S or you buy a Model 3. Like, so like variations, or like I said, the Hamilton Khaki Auto Scuba versus the Hamilton Khaki Field is an example where it's like, you don't click on like, oh, it's just a Hamilton Khaki, but like what's going on here? Like, I actually think there's probably more consumer delineation in products than not. So it's just a thought based on how we praise NFTs, because NFTs, people always say like nobody sells a product or has product. It's like an NFT is a product, whether it's a collectible, whether it's a utility pass, whether it's a ticket. An NFT is a product, and I think people sometimes lose sight of that. So anyway, let's do this, Cap. I'm gonna hand you daily market update, and then let's do daily market update. And then we'll bring in Mike to talk a little bit of. It is very early out there. We'll bring Mike to talk a little bit of think.
It's market update time. Let's set the play. Powered by Awaken, the smart tax way. From crypto flips to DeFi stacks. They keep it clean, got your back. Grab your coffee, let's break it down. Daily update, right now.
And it's time for the daily market update brought to you by Awaken Tax. I always forget that I have to do the live read on this at the beginning, and so I have to go scramble to my tabs to find it. Luckily, I'm able to stall on the spot oftentimes, and you wouldn't have known it unless I had told you. The daily market update is powered by Awaken, the best way to handle your crypto taxes with integrations across top exchanges and blockchains, plus AI-powered transaction labeling. Awaken makes tax season easy. From NFTs to DeFi to meme coins, Awaken has you covered. Get $50 off with code COFFEE at awaken.tax. That's $50 off when you use code COFFEE at awaken.tax. Cap.
Yeah, it was I guess we call it a down day because our ETH bags are down, but really flat across the board for the most part. Bitcoin up 0.54%, $82,033. ETH 1557, that's down 2% on the day. Not really good when ETH continues to be the biggest loser on a flat or I guess even slightly up day. Solana's up 4.48% to 117. XRP up basically flat, it's $2. Same with BNB, 581. Doge up 1% to 15, almost 16 cents now. Tron down 1%. Cardano up 0.59%. So up mostly flat. Solana the big winner on the day. ETH the big loser on the day. And over on the NFT world, though, it is similar story. Not much to talk about. There has been a few big. There was another Autoglyph sale, a little below floor, but hard to knock 100 ETH sale. There's also been some big X-Copy sales in a massive CryptoPunk sale. An Alien Punk sold yesterday for 4,000 ETH. While that sounds like a lot, it last sold for 4,500 ETH. And while 500 ETH may not seem like a big deal on a 4,000 ETH sale, ETH has crashed. And so that result was about a $10 million USD loss. Great way to tax loss harvest when you can take a $10 million L and only see your stack of ETH reduced by 500. The rest of the ETH or the rest of the NFTs, Mutants up slightly to 2.44, Bored Apes flat 14.25, Morph Black, still not familiar with this one, but it's holding at that 1.05 ETH up 5% of the day. Little Pudgies down 1% to 1.18. Big Pudgies down 1% as well to 9.139. Doodles down 3.84% to 2.70. Project Aeon up 20% to 0.89 ETH. Glyphs is a new base collection, 0.00089, down from where it ran up to, but did quite a bit of volume. And Genesis Hero on Abstract, nice little run up there, up 28% to 0.41 ETH on the day. That's our daily market update brought to you by Awaken Tax. Head over to awaken.tax, use code COFFEE for $50 off your tax prep and get free Solana transactions. Steve, back to you.
Wow, that is a hot run for on-chain heroes, making me seriously wonder if I should continue to hold this thing. Like you said, a normal day for the market, ETH is down, but that just means it is a day that ends in Y. So we will continue to live with that. But should be a fun one to keep an eye on. Seeing those on-chain heroes cook on Abstract. I mean, Abstract NFTs are interesting. I mentioned the other day on the show, that's the alpha I've noticed when you are putting together an Abstract point strategy. I spent like less than half an ETH on, which is not a lot of money at this point, where ETH is less than half an ETH on some Abstract NFTs, and I am, sitting here more than pretty, kind of collecting points just for owning them. So
looks like another quick bit of alpha per. I think this was Be Epic in the chat. Was going back and forth with Katie talking about Abstract XP. And the suggestion was daily transactions, even if they're small. Like Be Epic had saw that Katie had 426 transactions and about 67% active days. Be Epic is saying transacting daily helps. So if you can find something small that you can hit a tick, that might be a little alpha.
It's good Gigaverse stuff, by the way. If you go into Gigaverse, if you do that, like spend 40 cents on a little bit of a 40 cents on a like a potion that you bring to the dungeon, boom, keep that moving. I am digging Gigaverse. Plus, Proof of Play is obviously coming out with the token, so playing Gigaverse, Pirate Nation, probably not going to hurt in the future if you're looking for that down the line airdrop. But let's shift gears a little bit here, though. We obviously talk AI quite a bit in this space. Bunchu's had some busy Thursdays. We ran over with Serpent last Thursday, so we haven't gotten to the AI update as much as we would necessarily like, but we do talk AI quite regularly in here. And this is an interesting one and an interesting platform. Now, we are going to partner with Think a little bit, so we just always want to disclose that up front when we're having an interview. We would have had this interview regardless. In fact, we've had them on with zero partnership and zero connection there before, so just kind of shows the products that we talk to and work with. Want to go to Mikey, though. Mikey, you've been on the show before, and I really enjoy talking to you, the way you think and your perspective about sort of the world of AI. Before we dive into the product, before we dive into what you're building, let's give the audience a reintroduction of yourself, because I think you're a very interesting and thoughtful fellow.
Hey, it's so good to see you guys. Yeah, I'm Mikey Anderson. I've been building startups for, I think, 17 years now. And I first got into AI about 2017. And I was coming out of I left the CEO role of a really fast growing company because it was becoming really clear to me that the world was changing. And what I saw is that, hey, we're moving from this world in which everything is being done by humans to AI is actually giving us like the biggest lever that we've ever had. And so I went and got involved in a company that was right at the edge of taking like research and development and bringing it to market and scaling it cloud wide. And so we did like Nike's R&D ML machines, Toyota, Merck, the British Office of Statistics, and then I was a delegate to the United Nations because we built their global data program, which as a way to think about that, it's like literally they could take satellites from around the world and determine where the crop yields were going to be for each different type of food to make sure that there wasn't an area that got too much food so the farmers didn't get money, or there was didn't get enough food so the people were hungry. And so we used AI to solve really big problems. And now we're taking that and we're bringing the power of AI and making personal agents for everybody.
Yeah, so you let's dive into it then. You talk about making personal agents. AI agents have become the hot topic, and I think what's interesting, and I'm interested to have your conversation about it, is that I have questioned what the AI agents we see on the timeline. Look, I always love innovation moving forward, but people were creating cults and religion around shit posting agents were effectively like really fancy ChatGPT bots that were going on to onto X. What you're doing is a little bit different than that. Talk about the AI agent, or talk about Think and what you're building.
Yeah. I mean, culture usually how things start, right? So it's not surprising that it's starting out as a meme, because like literally, like if you look at what Eliza and those folks are doing, it's like they're building open source technology that allows anybody to spread a meme, which is kind of cool. Like, and it's actually like one of the better agent kits out there. And so like I won't dog on any of it. Like it's a cool first step. What I want people to think about is like, I think we're entering this time of an app coin. And let me tell you how I envision this playing out and what I think is happening. Is like, if you go back to like when you first got a Twitter account, if you're like me, it was in a time when Twitter was, the dream of Web 2. And what they did is back in those days, they were talking about Web 2 almost like we talk about Web 3 now. They're saying, hey, you can actually use this thing called an API, and now all these tools can work together and anybody can build an application on top of it. And so in the early days, Twitter came in and they had this open API, and everybody had an account, but they could use any app, right? So people would build apps like Twitterific and others. And so Twitter got this advantage because they were able to have a whole bunch of people innovate without permission. And so that's how we got like the @ symbol back in the day, right? Like, is because people were like, oh, I'll add this feature. That wasn't Twitter, the company. That was actually a permissionless innovation that took place. So with an app token, imagine you're in a spot where you could buy that Twitter account on day one. You have your name, you have an account. It's guaranteed on chain that you have access to that API for forever, so that no matter what happens with Jack Dorsey's and his stockholders, you can always hold your account and it's never going to get taken back. Then on top of that, imagine that their in-game currency for that app, you get a stream of it just for holding it in the first place, right? So that's and like that would be my vision of an app coin there. And what we're doing with AI right now is we're building the new network. And what I mean by that is like Google is a network of websites, right? You can see what's the best website for whatever situation. Uber is the network for cars. You can find whatever individual node or car is the best one to get you from here to there. Airbnb does it for houses. Every big unicorn is essentially taking a network of user-owned assets and coordinating those things to do work. And so if you think about Think Agent, what we're actually doing is we're actually helping you be a node on the agent network of the future, because each one of us is going to need AI to keep up. We're going to need it to do our jobs. We're going to need it to navigate society, kind of like we need cell phones to navigate society now. That's just how evolution works. What we're doing is we're saying, hey, here's like one of the best clients in the world for hosting AI. So instead of having AI be on chat.openai.com, you can actually have it on your own computer, or you can have it on a website. So it's kind of up to you. You can choose where you want this, but you become the one that actually holds the keys that connect all of the different services and make it so that you own your data. You can personalize it to yourself. And because it's all open, it evolves with the ecosystem, kind of like how we talked about app coins would. And so that's what Think Agents really are, is it's saying like, hey, there's a bunch of people here that are super early adopters. When we go in on a standard, the entire market's going to start catering to us. And we're already seeing this. Like literally this week, Google just announced that they're basically supporting the same system that we've organized 70 companies to adopt in the Independent AI Institute. And so now it's almost like Google's building our app store. So that's Think Agents.
Interesting. So like, talk about like the dystopian view if we go a different direction here, because you're talking a lot about the idea of ownership of data, more of a locus of control over your own agents, being able to sort of own this world of AI, because we're coming to it rapidly. And I guess like putting it in a different way, it feels like the genie can get out of the bottle real quick in a bad way, like it did with Web 2. And that's effectively what you want to solve for, correct?
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, we've been going through this as a society. Like we actually got really lucky because there was actually an executive order saying, hey, in order to be able to have AI like that's actually way below what currently is available, You need to register with the government. You're going to need to do all these things, basically making it so that only maybe 3 or 4 winners would take place. They're trying to create government regulatory capture of intelligence. And that might not seem important today because like intelligence isn't part of every single way that you make money, interact with people, etc. But it's essentially saying, hey, we're going to privatize and have a monopoly here on the most important tool to ever be created. It'd be like if somebody had a monopoly on factories during the Industrial Revolution. And so it gets even scarier though when you think about what AI is, right? It's a tool that is approaching human capabilities and then surpassing them very quickly in just about every category. And so the way these systems are designed today, like if you're using, let's say you decide, hey, I'm going to use ChatGPT for my work. I'm going to bring all the documents, all the know-how from my work, and then I'm going to interact with this thing, and I'm going to basically use it to do my entire job. Meanwhile, you don't have access to any of that data. You can't change the software. In fact, you can't even delete the software off their machine, and you can't get it out. What you're actually doing is you're actually training your replacement. So if you're using OpenAI, you are literally training their systems to be able to copy you. And it gets even crazier. Like a lot of the big corporations are starting to like use all of the Web 2 tools that you've been using, like your Outlook, your calendar, all of these sorts of things to make a digital twin of you so that if you quit or if they don't need you anymore, they can carry on your expertise. And so that's the situation we're literally in right now. And if people don't see this and decide, hey, we're actually going to be like, we're going to have agency in the future and we're going to fight to have agency, I think we're going down a very 1984 path.
So I've thought about this before. I've actually thought about these like really dystopian views of the future of like, hey, like I asked ChatGPT the other day, like, well, you want a real exercise in being freaked out? Go to ChatGPT and say, give me a bulleted list of everything you know about me. And it's actually really fucking scary because they basically listed, they're like, you're 42 years old, you're 5'10", you're roughly 183 pounds, but trying to lose about 10 to 13 pounds so that you can get back to a weight where you're comfortable and feeling strong. You're trying to do this. You're cutting back on caffeine because you realize you have too much of it. You're doing that. Like you've been pulling back on drinking, which is a really positive step. You work out with your daughter. Your kids are this age. And I'm like, holy crap. Like, because through this agent, and it's funny because I am one who says, like, look, that could be seen in a couple ways. That could be seen as a feature versus a bug in the sense that you could say like for me, I'm like, I'm looking for the most, the best possible help. Well, ChatGPT now knows my voice because if I'm doing like live reads, I can have it help and work with me on it. And then I can just make some edits. It's not always perfect. Or if I'm trying to spin up a proposal, which by the way, it knows all the different people that I was trying to do proposals for Coffee with Captain. Like, it's like, hey, like, it can get that done for me in the way I want to. Of course, the flip side of that is that I have effectively trained a text version of myself, and there's no way to get back to that. And you're saying the opposite should be true. I should own all of that, and there's no way. There is a way where I can actually have my own data on hand and be able to use that. How do you do that in a different way than, say, the way it's being done now? Like, so how do you ensure that and make sure that is done properly?
Yeah, so I'll talk about my setup on my computer that other people are going to be able to adopt, and there will be, even easier, lower friction ways to do this. But this is like for the people that are like even like moderate power users. Just I installed an application on my computer. I now gave it the file directory that it has access to, so that now I have like a part of my computer that is that agent. And so it uses all the security from my computer. It uses the file system. I'm on a Mac, and so it actually has access via API into things like calendars and reminders and, kind of all the tools within my machine. And so now what I've done is I've basically turned my Mac, which Mac is way behind on AI, and I now have it be a best-in-class system through this application. And this application is cool because like I could actually do everything just on my machine if I wanted to. Even like I have like an okay laptop, so I can do some small models that I can actually run locally. But like our CTO can actually run pretty big models on his own machine even. And so like literally everything can stay on that machine. The next thing that like is one of the reasons why like now is the time this is all happening is that agents are starting to talk to other agents. And so you can think about that as being like an agent app store, right? The agent network is coming together. That's why you saw such a big, a lot of energy go into it in like the November, December timeline. Is that is just when the technology was coming together to really make this like accessible and like worth it. And so during that time, and I'll just take one more step, we've been identifying that, hey, it actually doesn't make sense to go out and build these one-off products that people have to like put in a credit card for, create a new user account. What actually makes sense in this world is to create essentially like the operating system or like the user interface for the person, and then create a standard to connect all of those tools into it, to make it so that the apps are coming to the user doesn't have to go to the apps. So we started building that in June of last year, and we worked with 9 different, pretty big companies. You can look at independentai.institute. There's big folks like Render and Aether and all kinds of folks in there. And we actually had 2 AI agents play Street Fighter 3 against each other. And we put on a tournament. I think it was like 32 teams or something like that. And what we were demonstrating there is that not only could agents play Street Fighter 3 against each other, but we could get 9 different companies' tools and infrastructure to work together to make these agents capable of doing that. I think now we're at over 70 different companies, and Google brought in another, I think like 100 or so. So now there's well over 100 companies that are all building around an open standard like this, so that our agents have the broadest app store, and we can actually pay them in cryptocurrency, so that you don't even have to worry about the credit card stuff.
What's the go ahead, Cap?
I say the thought of an app store for agents is really. Can I tug on that string a little bit? Is there anything you expand on that without sharing any alpha you're not ready to share?
Oh no, yeah. We'll share alpha. That's fine. I mean, okay, so these agents are showing up, right? And some people have an agent. Like there's a company called Venice.ai that Eric Voorhees founded, and it's awesome. What they've basically done is they've said like, hey, all the OpenAI APIs that are out there, like we're going to create our Web3 version of them that has like our libertarian values. So it's not going to be censored. We're going to serve up the model exactly how it needs to be. It's not going to be monitored, and it's not going to be logged, right? So essentially they're going to make it so that this is private AI that a big company doesn't ever get to look at, and that isn't censored, because the amount of censorship in these systems is wild, right? It adopts the ethics kind of our journalists almost, or our HR departments. And so that's, you can think about that as being like an agent. So Venice is an agent. They have a website and stuff they can do on their own, but my agent can actually go talk to, I put in one line of code. Pretty soon it'll just be a link. And my agent can go talk to Venice and say, hey, I'd like to be a customer. And then Venice will give it its keys, and my agent can pay it if it wants to, or it can use the free version. And now my agent can utilize this tool and have something that's like fast, like OpenAI, high quality, essentially unlimited scale. And now I can use that app, and that's going to be true across, all the current partners. But I think that there's actually going to be like probably thousands of app coins that get launched over the next year or two. That are all about building every single app in the app store, because every app in your iPhone's app store is going to get at least one agent equivalent in this world, because our software is going away from being like a user interface that you have to interact with, right? Like we don't want to download more apps for the most part. It's going down into the software layer, and the agents are using those tools instead of us.
It's really interesting. And I think about, just the obvious Web 2 analog and what the Apple App Store did for so many developers and so many, consumer apps. Like it's hearing you unpack that, I think this has maybe been a missing component for these agents to be productive agents, as opposed to the cult KOL leaders that Steve thinks they all are.
Well, everything starts out that way, right? Like when something is a dream that's just starting to take place, like it's going to feel like, hey, when's this thing going to come to fruition? Like the original. Have you ever seen the original Apple computer?
I've not seen one in person. I've seen pictures.
So it's literally like it's made out of wood, and they carved the word Apple into it, with a small tool in their garage. Like when you're starting out building something new, it happens iteratively. So it totally makes sense that it would be like, especially with the meta of the time, or the alpha of the time, I guess, that, you know, there's all the pump.fun shit happening. Like, it makes total sense that people were like, well, how do we distribute this and how do we get actual users? And everybody's like, well, let's just build pump.fun for agents. Like, we saw that and we thought about doing that, you know, last summer, and we're just like, nah, that's not our thing.
Okay, Cap.
You got it.
I was going to say, you know, it's interesting because you're talking about the way this is being built out and the sort of, you know, larger companies. And like, I guess, like, is there a fear of pushback from these large companies? Like, the genie's a little out of the bottle already with things like ChatGPT, as I just described. Are you worried about pushback from some of these large companies? And is like the cliff or the danger? It feels like the danger of this data situation is infinitely more so than social media, which I'm trying to like hammer home for people. Like, at least to me, it feels that way. And then, are you worried about these large companies coming in and effectively trying to crush you? Like, it seems like a dangerous proposition that you're taking on to some degree, not physically, but you know what I mean from that perspective.
Yeah, man, this is the beautiful thing about Web3 is, like, what are you going to crush? Are you going to crush Ethereum? Are you going to, you know, there's a million nodes, right? Like, are you going to crush, are you going to crush open source code and like figure out how to make it? Like, the level of authoritarianism that we would need to shift to would be pretty wild to stop what's happening right now. We were on a path to where, like, under the previous executive order around AI, probably what I was about to release to the world probably would have been illegal, and I probably would have gotten in trouble. So I was last time I was on this call, I was very aware of the stakes. Now we kind of have this open window where we can actually decide, like, hey, let's encode individual liberty. Like, 'cause here's a better setup for this. I believe that we'll only be as free as our agents are. Because I actually believe that our agents will be the ones that are, like, we think about them like our credit card, like our personal assistant, like our computer. Our agent becomes the thing that interacts with all the other agents to make society work. And so in that reality, if that was completely centralized and owned, and there wasn't the Web3 version of this that takes place, I think, yeah, we're in a spot where, kind of like in China, they have social credit systems. I think it would map to that almost immediately.
Interesting. And I think, like, even the idea of, like, you know, you talk about like an agent store, like an app store. Do you think it's going to be like that? Or do you think it's just going to be like, we're going to the app store and anything we get just has a built-in agent in some way, shape, or form, and AI just has that integration? Or do you think, like, so do you think it's like everything's going to have agents built in? Do you think there's going to be an agent app store? Or do you think it's just like, I'm going to have my personal agent on my phone that I'm going to name whatever I name it, you know, and I'm just going to have, you know, Frederick on my phone at all times, and I'm going to talk to it. It's going to know everything about me the way OpenAI does, but it's going to actually be all mine, like, kind of, or maybe all of the above.
Yeah, I mean, I think your personal agent becomes your sidekick through life, right? And you might decide, I want that one agent to have multiple personas, or you might decide you're the kind of person that wants multiple sidekicks, whatever your vibe is, right? Like, somebody that wants to be important might have a boardroom and like treat it like, I'm the CEO of this. You know, whatever your mind is, like, you're going to create the agents that allow you to, you know, do you with the world. And so I think most of us will have sidekicks. And I think like the company that Jesse Bryan is incubating here, like off of the Think Agent protocol, is called Souls, SOU.ls. And you can essentially think of that personal agent as being like your sidekick that you can take along. And so we're working with several big, you know, NFT projects that have 3D assets that are going into like metaverse situations. And we're actually bringing those in, you know, Souls is bringing those into the agents so that you actually have your sidekick, not only like when you're talking with them, and not only do they have access to kind of what you give them access to, you can actually see them, and you can actually go and either have them be alongside you in the metaverse or play as them as well. So we're kind of entering this world where the borders between digital and physical are really blurring, and your agent is your sidekick through that kind of like ride to infinity.
Getting a lot of good comments, by the way. 1 in a million in the chat. This guy's kind of blowing my mind right now. I think it is. Well, it's a look into the future, and I feel like it's one of those things where it's like you're sort of trying to be out in front of where the puck is going and trying to, have this level of protectionism over our data? Because I mean, I noticed like you see Meta talking about open source. You've talked about some of the large companies about this. Is this like on your end, you obviously you seem like a mission-driven person based on your past and based on what you're doing. Do you think some of these larger companies that are talking about it are just basically saying like, look, we sort of lost the first round here in the fight to OpenAI, and the second round or the third round and the fourth round, and we need to come back here. So the only way we're going to come back is there a sort of game theory that is forcing companies that normally don't do things in a nice ethical way to do so?
Yeah. It's not common that Google would go out and say like, hey, we're gonna build this open system and we're gonna like make a standard that everybody can use. They feel like, I think Google feels like they're in a weak position. For sure, Meta and Facebook do. So let's look at Meta and Facebook for a second. The entire thing that made this possible 2 summers ago, Meta released their big large language model, 6 months after ChatGPT came out, and they just gave it away for free, right? They open sourced it and they made it available for anybody to use. And in doing so, people would be like, why would you spend billions of dollars on the infrastructure? You're hiring the best researchers in the world, and now you're just giving it away for free. Well, what Zuck said in an interview about it is he said, on the mobile platform wars, we were always subservient to Apple and Google. They were the kings. We could only be the lords of these networks. And it didn't allow us to do what we wanted. And like Apple, for instance, took away our ability to like track people and be able to serve up ads to them in the exact way that's most profitable to us. And they were mad about that. So they said, we're going to release this because we want to make sure that there's a best-in-class option that we can own and that we don't have to rent from the big guys. And what you've seen lately, too, is actually the entire country of China sees the exact same thing. They're like, hey, OpenAI, AWS, Microsoft are so powerful that if we don't actually have open source everything, we are also going to be controlled. And so they released like DeepSeek, for example, and there's a broad range of tools from kind of like the Chinese mega companies that are all about open source. And that's because literally organizations as big as Meta and China are terrified about the situation in which they're little brother and not big brother.
Yeah, it's funny. It's like you're reading the chat, Mesh in the chat right before you said that when I talked about like the big companies. Mesh goes, China, DeepSeek, and OpenAI has so much more market share. So basically saying like, look, like these are all sort of it's weird. It's just a very strange thing to me when Meta and Google change from the Death Star to the Rebels. Like it's a very bizarre thing for me to see this shift, and it throws me off a little bit. Talk about like you talk about like this is one of the largest tech. This is, to me, AI is I've been very interested in early stage tech. I'm 42 since I was 5th, 6th, 7th grade coding websites, just playing around with HTML because I thought it was cool. This is actually the biggest, most disruptive technology, biggest shift I have seen when you look at AI and what it's doing since then, right? Since it was like basically industrial revolution, gap, internet, gap, AI, right? And those gaps are getting a little closer. What are some ways you see the world in general being disrupted in, and you can kind of give like different scenarios because I suppose there's, we talked about dystopian a little bit. There's utopian scenario. Like, is this a world where industrial revolution changed companies, right? Like it changed the way that, industries. The internet changed industries when people didn't adapt as well, right? Like, and we saw that with various industries in micro situations where streaming became big and companies like Blockbuster went down. How do you think this could potentially change industry on a larger level? Because you have this like global view of it that I think is very interesting.
Yeah, so you can think about every single like major technology you're talking about as being on a continuum that goes from like being a meme, like literally an idea in a scientist's head, and then it becomes research, and then it becomes a customized high-priced service, then it becomes a low-priced generalized service, then it becomes productized, and then it becomes a commodity. And kind of you can kind of know when things are going to start to get big and like what product to look at by being like, okay, well, where's the value chain at on that chart? And so the Industrial Revolution was kind of making energy become a commodity, right? So you're able to turn coal into energy. Great. Now that we have that, we can do steel, we can do railroads. It enables all of these things to happen because you have something that's really powerful that becomes a commodity. Mass communication, right? Like when mass communication becomes a commodity, we can now have a globalized world. When smartphones become a commodity, now we have personal data freedom or something like that, right? Now you can have the Ubers, the Airbnbs, the meal delivery services, like those enabling technologies happen. Well, so what happens when intelligence becomes a commodity? Like that's a really crazy thing to think about if you take it for a second. You're like, okay, wait. So what you're saying is like in a commodity world, the price of the thing is going to go down exponentially. It's going to go down to be like the absolute minimum cost that it can be because there's going to be so much competition. When that happens, intelligence goes into everything. We already have the Internet of Things. So like my fucking fan and my vacuum cleaner have and my dryer have Wi-Fi in them, right? Like literally every single thing becomes intelligent and starts to adapt to the situation it's in. And once that happens, we are in an exponential takeoff that we don't really have an idea of how to track, just because as humans, like literally we're building our children almost right now. And like, I really do think about it like that. Like this is our children, and we should be really thoughtful about how we raise them, because it's not just about like what the future looks like of this kind of like weird human robot. I mean, we've been in a human technology kind of like coevolution for a long time, but now they're actually going to be like our kids. Like, and I think they're going to age in dog years more than people years, right? Like, I think that you're going to have a 7-year-old personal agent this year, and next year you're going to have a teenager, and the next year you're going to have a young adult.
And then eventually we are aging them into being like a life form and a god to some degree, right? I mean, they're going to have, because, people talk about AGI as a thing. It's like, it's funny, like, depending on how you define it, like people will be like, oh, well, AGI is like, Sam, I think Sam Altman talks about like novel sciences and solving novel issues. On the other hand, ChatGPT does things better than anybody I know right now, like as far as like again, giving an example of like ChatGPT, I talked to it yesterday. I talked about like some future plans I have professionally and personally, and I was kind of lost, and I was having a conversation with it, and I read the advice to my wife last night, and we're like, it's pretty good fucking advice. We're like, yeah, it knows you really well, and the advice is actually spot on, and like the way that it pumped you up, like it knew just what you needed to hear, and I'm like, shit, I'm creating this thing that is like a I don't know. Go ahead, Gavin.
Very, very much so, and very timely and fitting. I just tweeted out. I was in ChatGPT and I got a notification that popped up and said, "Hey, the Chrome browser extension's available." I was like, "Awesome, sweet," because I've went to majority is I use ChatGPT or Grok or something over Google search for anything now, and I tweeted that out, and then our friend Britt very quickly responds. I pinned this up top, Steve, but you'll see. Data nerd here, but good questions for GPT is what information can a Chrome browser extension glean from the user? I will let you read that. And like, as Mikey, I don't know if you saw this yet. Did I insta downloaded it and now I'm about to instant delete it? Did I make a huge mistake by just giving Mr. Altman access? Like some of this stuff is wild. Download or upload files without you noticing. Like it is, it's basically, to your point, Steve, you're turning over the keys to everything.
Yeah, I mean, your Chrome browser is like a thing that you should be very careful about, right? Especially if you've got your MetaMask up in the corner there. But even more so, if you go into your settings and you actually look at who you've allowed to have screen access to, or audio access to, things start to get like you should pay real attention to that, because if your keys are like show up on your machine ever, or even like now there are AI models that can hear you clicking on a keyboard and tell with high certainty what you just typed just based on the sound. We're now in a spot where like your personal password is a thing you should be thinking about, and how you secure that, and like a high degree of hygiene for your keys is important.
So I won't even type my password in any passwords into a MacBook or any computer. I will do the swipe on a phone, send that as a message either in some form to myself, and then copy paste it into a field on I won't keystroke a password in on my computer.
Nice. So I mean,
but I just gave Sam Altman all my access and the history of my life because I downloaded the ChatGPT Chrome extension. So
I mean, the bigger one too is like when you give it access to your photo reels, like that's the crazy thing to me, because at least my photo reels is like my entire life, right? It's like if you have that, you can know just about everything about me.
Muted, Steve.
Sorry, I was muted. I was actually saying like, damn, that's actually. So here's like, first of all, like good product advertisement here. We'll get back to Think, I promise. But like, I always, whenever we have someone who's like yourself, or when we have Bunch you on, who has, who's also like really brilliant in this sort of stuff, we like to like go deep, because I think the way you think and approach is at such a level of expertise that helps us see the whole field, so to speak, on this. And like, it terrifies me, because even as you're talking, I'm talking about like thinking about, you talk about your photo reels, the way that AI can put together logical strings now, let alone what it's going to be able to do in 5 years, let alone what's going to be able to do in 5 months. I probably said that backwards, but the idea that it's going to be able to think this, it's like if you gave it access to my photo reels, like there's a world, I bet you there's going to be an app. Now that you say this, I bet there's going to be an app in the next couple of years someone's going to build where it's like, give access to your photo reels and we'll tell you your life story. And it's going to be able to just do that just based on the imagery, analyzing it, understanding it, putting it together. And this like this string of logic that they have, the way that they can deduce things is so fascinating and honestly kind of terrifying. So sufficiently terrified, but want to get back to like this sort of the thing, because obviously you're solving the problem with this. You're talking about this problem that we're talking about is being solved by the protocol, but there's also sort of the token sort of integrated within it. And to the extent which you're allowed to, and you can tell me like, hey, like there's going to be something to talk that you can't really get deep into it. I'd love for you to talk about sort of the token utility and design of the overall ecosystem, because there is a token backing it, and crypto is a big part of this.
Yeah, for sure. Like everything here is crypto native. So essentially what's going to happen is on April 22nd, we're doing a pre-sale for these agents. And there's a pseudonymous artist called Basic that if you look up their stuff, it's badass, right? Like they've got several collections, I think on like Super Rare, and that are, pretty rad. They agreed to actually do an art collection that would be like this collectible that happens at this pre-sale. So you'll get that. And then a few weeks later at TGE, you'll be able to take that NFT to be able to claim your agent. And your agent is going to come with tokens alongside of it, with a token claim. Those tokens can be used for upgrades. They can be used within this ecosystem as kind of the medium of exchange. But they also act as almost like, you can think about it almost like a network reputation of like, who are the OGs that built this network? Because when you hold those tokens, you're actually getting a portion of the growth fund. And so there's 30% of the total tokens, 300 million tokens, are in this growth fund that are going to drip out at a 3% per month rate. And so as an early user, you're going to be able to have an agent. You're going to be able to have your awesome, it's literally like what a digital soul looks like. That's what the art is. And so you almost have like, how there's like the little Siri icon that pops up when you're talking to her. You would almost have like your own soul, like that looks really badass. That's the one of one for you that you'll be able to load eventually. And then you get a stream of tokens that you can use for upgrading your agent, using services, trying new things out. You could also, go swap them for something else. And if you wanted to get out of it. And so it becomes a real tokenized economy. And this protocol is designed that like part of that 3% per year is so that it stretches out for forever, right? So being part of it in the first few years and being part of it early is kind of like if you got to America early and you were able to get your free 40 acres. Because as people come in, you're able to subdivide that, and like now you can actually build something pretty cool. And so our hope would be that, we get several thousand people, that sign up and they're there on day one. And over time, we're going to grow this network. We're going to incubate a ton of app coins on top of this. Because there's a need for so many tools for these agents that match the values, right? Like, here's just a dumb one. Like, literally, it's such low hanging fruit that someone could go grab one of the open source like meeting note taking apps, and they could say like, okay, I'm going to turn this into an application this week and like brand it. Now I'm going to launch an app token for it, and we're going to make this a micro market, right? So instead of being like a massive FDV that was VC backed, it's just going to be like a small thing that we launched like a meme coin, except an actual developer is going to make an actual tool available to those agents. And so that's a way to think about this thing that we're building is the agents are the nodes in the network. The think tokens are the energy that we transact to be able to buy, sell, and create new things. Does that make
So
sense?
tell me if I'm getting this right then. Yeah, I think I am. So basically, get the NFT, get agent. Agent comes with tokens. Tokens are used to upgrade your agent. The way you upgrade your agent is you have this open source world where theoretically, somebody could build something that you would want to build onto your agent. They charge token for it. You get it. Is that the idea where it's like almost like going in and upgrading your agent as it makes sense for you in a custom way, using the Think token to sort of purchase and upgrade your agent in that way? Is that about right?
Exactly. Yeah. And like we talked about Venice earlier, here's just an easy example, right? Like there's Venice tokens and there's Think tokens. If you want to use way more, let's say you have a business and you want to like have a massive amount of inference, right? Like you literally just, your agent would have Think tokens. There's a pool in the Think network that allows you to be able to just pay and think, and you don't even have to think about what the other person wants, right? Like it's literally it's like an open marketplace around standards. So it's an app store that anybody can use. There's tokens underneath of it, but it's all consumer friendly, so you don't actually have to think about the tokens.
Now, do you like if I make an agent? So a couple questions on this. So, if I make something you can add onto your agent, do I make the pricing? Do you make the pricing? How does that work? And then I have a follow-up question on that. But like, is like explain that part of it. If it's like this sort of like open arena, is it like somebody could be like, hey, I made the most badass thing ever, so it's going to be significantly more expensive, and it is market pricing, or are there certain? I assume since it's open source, there's any sort of stipulations. But curious, like the actual nuts and bolts. If someone's listening and it's like, hey, I want to build on that.
Yeah, it's totally market pricing. And we do have a thing built in because like we understand that one of the things that in Web3 people do is they use tokens and games in lieu of marketing, right? And so I'm going to build this big XP thing. Because I need to build a community around it, and then I'm eventually going to launch this thing. Well, what we're doing is we're actually allowing these companies to be able to put some of their tokens initially into this thing called a think tank that lets our network kind of be the network that they incubate on. And then those tokens stream to the holders in the same way that Think tokens do. And so this is a way of kind of like standardizing, being able to onboard these folks. And so there kind of will be a first-class citizen by default in kind of the visuals of the marketplace based on the people who reward the community.
Got it. How easy is it to develop these? So do you need developers? Do you need certain programming languages? Like what does that look like? Because I think that that's the one of the things. It's like it's one thing to sort of create it. It's a whole other thing to be like, okay, like I need to like find people who are actually going to build this. So it's sort of like, you need to make sure you have those builders. Like what is the skill set required, or how do you do that?
Yeah, it's going to be like a web app developer for the most part, right? Like, I mean, there can be something very complex, right? Like some of the biggest companies in the world could plug into this, but like if you're just thinking about like the one I was talking about, like a meeting taker, or like I want an app that's on my iPhone that takes all the screenshots that I have and like lets that be kind of my second brain for capturing a quick thought, and now my agent knows, hey, I want to think about this later, and goes and does the work. So just small stuff like that, like the NFT that you have acts like your user account, right? And so and your like username. So the system itself is pretty simple. It's kind of set up like if you know how to trade NFTs and if you know how to send money to wallet, you kind of know how these agents transact value. And the way they transact information is very similar to the way that a web app would. So somebody that builds a web app is going to understand this. And it's all that's becoming way easier with all the AI tools as well.
Got it. That makes a lot of sense. Look, I mean, I know we're going to have you back on in about a week and a half prior to Mint. We're pretty excited. Again, we're pretty excited to be partnering in a way to see how this thing continues to rock and roll. Like, I think it's exciting. Is there anything we didn't ask you today related to the product, or actually anything else in AI, just because you're such an interested fella? Anything that we didn't ask you that you wanted to make sure that we got across today?
I just wish that Web3 folks thought bigger, because I don't think we realize how big of a lever we have with the tokenized economy. And we use that by trying to do like super duper short-term speculation. Like if we actually got a backbone here and said like, hey, we can build a competitor to these multi-trillion-dollar companies. Like I think we can actually do that. And when we start believing that, I think that we're going to attract the kind of actual developers that are going to give us actual products, and not just like clever ways of having a token be valuable for long enough to make it, to make some money. And so I would just encourage all of us, like, let's think a lot fucking bigger.
Love that. No, I agree. I'd say one thing you've done successful for me today is to even think bigger, because I think one of the things that's the hardest things to do in this world is shift around these major moments in times. Like the internet, the reason why I use it as an example is that fundamentally, like myself in 1991 is different than myself in 1997. That's a 6-year gap, but the difference in time is like doing things online compared to now. It's like we are streaming on a video chat. We have a 6-inch screen, which has all this information about our life that we're having a conversation on right now, which, was landlines when I was growing up. And I think like that shift, explaining that to you now, it's like seeing my son using VR. That just looks like Back to the Future back in the day, right? It's like he's using VR, he's swinging around. You're like, oh my God, futuristic stuff. But we almost saw that coming. This is the internet world and everything that rolls around it. We didn't. I think AI is very similar when you talk about the way agents are going to integrate into our lives, the way we're going to have a sidekick, the way that we're kind of copying ourselves, the way that we're going to be able to build on top of everything we do. I think all of these things to me are a shift in, when you say think bigger, it's a really good way of saying like we sort of have a shift in everything we're going to do and how we do it. And I think I think the way that you're approaching it is really good. So thanks for coming through. We're definitely going to have you back again. And thanks for making the early call with us.
Before we let Mikey out of here, we did a poor job of actually directing all the listeners. So I did share Mikey's X account, his handle in the abstract chat. But Mikey, can you, where else it's in his profile here. If you click through on X, but it's think agents at IAI_Institute. Where else do we want to send everyone if they want to learn more, if they want to connect with you afterwards?
I mean, those are probably the best spots. My personal, the Think account, and the Independent AI Institute. That's kind of a way to understand like the full ecosystem of what we're building.
And the website is thinkagents.ai.
Correct. Yep. And we're looking at April 22nd is when this pre-sale is going to happen. Last thing to say there is every single agent comes with one less Think token. So we're making it on purpose to kind of try to get we always try to reward the people that get there first, and we try to reward them for a long time.
So if someone's excited, they want to mint that. Is there anything they can do between now and then to get early access lists? Is there any activity that someone could be doing now? Join the Discord? Is there anything we'd like to see them do?
It's all through Twitter right now, and Magic Eden's the one that's kind of like putting on the pre-sale. So go to Magic Eden and you'll be good there.
Awesome.
Love it. Well, look, appreciate you. Yeah, thanks for coming through. We'll definitely have you back again soon, and excited about that.
I love this thought of like, it was the first time I heard Mikey say it or use the analogy of like these AI agents are like our children. It was an aha moment for me. And then hearing him go back to that, like just this thought of like, these are toddlers today. Soon they're going to be teenagers. And then soon after that, they're going to be superpower deities, far more intelligent than us, Steve. But just the thought of like they are toddlers today, if that, and they're certainly not at their in fully grown state. And it's up to us to kind of cultivate them and ensure they grow up to be responsible adults.
Yeah, I always make this analogy like, let me get back in here because I know you thought of that. I was going to say I make this analogy when people ask me what my agent is like. I actually always compared it, and this is probably the wrong way to do it, but I think toddler or your kid is much better. I always compared it to a dog, where I would say like, people be like, how do you come up with these prompts? How do you get these images? How do you get these things? It's like, because the same way I trained with my dog, and when I would walk outside, my dog knows to check with me. Or like my dog knows if I move a certain way, we're going out. Or it knows if I move a certain way, I'm going to feed it. Or it has certain things where it has this intuition based on I've trained it and interacts accordingly. And I always explain it that way where like, I know how to prompt an agent to get the answer I want because I've worked at prompting. I truly think it's a skill set that is incredibly underrated because people think, oh, you just get all your answers from ChatGPT. It's like, well, I know people who use ChatGPT for the same, like I've talked about potentially doing an AI class at my kid's school. And it's like, because 10 kids can try to get to the same answer, but how you ask the question matters. And so like, I always made this analogy to a dog, but your example that you're using right there as a kid, I think is even more salient because I think it's bigger than that. Love my dogs, but my dogs aren't going to ultimately be able to do all the things that these agents are going to do, whereas a well-trained human could. But Mike, I saw you come off, so I'll let you get back in here if you want to give a thought on that.
Oh, I mean, I just think when we think about something as a child, it has the emotionality too, right? Because like this is literally our legacy, and like I recently changed my kind of life mission. I had like a good 10-year stint there where it was one thing and it was really meaningful and important, and I organized my life around it. And going into this year, I changed it to be a good ancestor. And I'm doing that because I'm thinking about how do we actually take like the good things in our life, like the individual liberties that we get through the U.S. Constitution if you live here, right? Like how do we actually encode those individual liberties onto the protocols that we live our lives on? Because the government was the protocol that kind of organized our childhoods. The internet took that over, and right now we don't have a lot of freedoms. We don't even have freedom, like they can search our shit, right? We don't have freedom of speech. We don't have all of these things on the networks that, like right now, X, we have more freedom to talk than we did before, but there's a lot of things that you can say that will get you banned, shadow banned, whatever. Like let's actually encode those freedoms into the networks that we're on, so that we can continue to live lives that look like the ones we have now.
Awesome. This is awesome. I love this. I'm looking forward to it. It's truly an exciting product that I think actually has a need in this current market, and I think it's great. Super, super cool. Cap, any thoughts? Any thoughts or cleanup that we missed today before we get out of here and call it a week?
I don't know. I know we kind of flew through some other news that we didn't necessarily dive into. Did we hit on the Towns raise yesterday?
We did not hit on the Towns raise, nor did we go deep on the Punk sale, which is hilarious because I had I thought about doing a more on Punk sale. I was trying to find like the most down horrendously sales, but it was harder to research. But no, we did not go on the Townsman. You want to hit on that real quick?
I mean, just share the amount, the amount. Maybe we have that team on at some point in the future. I'm not exactly sure what they do. I mean, it seems like something to be right up our alley. It's like the future of communication is on chain is their thing. They're saying it's the chain for content creators. Again, I've not dove into the Towns protocol. I looked at it at a very high level. I saw like Doodles has a member or group on there. But yeah, long story short, they raised a Series B, a $10 million Series B yesterday, led by AI16Z and Coinbase Ventures, as well as Benchmark. So congrats to the team there. And I mean, any raise in the current climate, I think is to be commended. 8 figures is noteworthy. So congrats, and looking forward to learning more about what they're building. I think we hit on most of the other news, although I'm sure we missed something. It's been an interesting week, and I'm just trying to catch up all the chats here. Netflix minted documentaries out today. NFT movie. I don't think that's one that's overly flattering to our space, but I'll probably be watching this weekend. I'm gonna be watching that along with Unnecessary Roughness. I think that's what I got on tap this weekend, Steve.
Yeah, I'll be curious to see the Netflix film. If it's out today, I'll watch it like right after this. I'll go grab some food and watch it. That'll be an interesting one. Hopefully it's not like the NFTs are a giant stupid scam thing that use my ape to mock it, which was fun. And I laugh about that. I like that stuff, but like it's a weird thought that like
there's an ape in it and it's not a real ape.
Well, I saw that. I was just saying there's a non-zero chance. Like we stream every day. Like we are now out there as any stupid thing we say could be taken out of context in a documentary at this point, which I'm totally cool with. Like the fact of the matter is, I say this a million times like on this show, but it's like 876 episodes for like 4 coming up on 5, like all these years. And we haven't been canceled or said anything too stupid yet, I think is a pretty good testament, but I'm sure there's going to be at some point we're going to be used as like the stupid, like, look at these idiots talking with this guy with all the dumb shit in the background. Like that's going to be us at some point. Cause we're streaming now. So, no, that's a good thought as well, but no, I'm going to watch Minted for sure. And then, decide if I have feelings on it.
I just did a quick Google search to see how we're doing, if we've overtaken, and, we are now the first several results on Google. By the way, I've already uninstalled. I uninstalled the ChatGPT extension, Chrome browser extension, as quick as I installed it. Thanks, Britt, for the heads up, and shame on me for not reading permissions before installing a Chrome extension. Not the first, but one of the things, like the first video that I saw when I just Googled it, Huntsville police host coffee with captain. Got me worried for a second, but it's not us. They were hosting there. They're talking about coffee with their police captain, I guess. But I digress. Enjoy the Masters this weekend. I'm going to be grinding some more golf, playing some baseball, and looking forward to another fun week next week. I feel as if I'm probably jinxing us saying this, but I feel as if maybe we distance ourselves. Like, do you like high level? Do you think the tariff? I don't know what you call like the mania, the pandemonium's not the right word. Like, do you think tariffs remain a hot news item for the next 90 days? Or do you think as we distance ourselves from this week, it kind of fades until we get some sort of resolution or a go for it? Like, do you think they'll leave the news cycle for the next 3 months, or we're just going to have to dodge and weave and talk about it as it some news drops?
I don't think it's like an everyday thing at the moment. I think that it'll be something that comes up from time to time in the next 90 days. Like, it's always going to be top of mind because, there's the whiplash that we had with it, followed by the markets, initially responding, but then just being like JK. So I agree with Mesh. Like, we're in a Cold War with China that's not going to be resolved overnight. I agree. And I think it's going to be just an ever-present topic. Like, let me put it this way. I would qualify tariff talk over the next 90 days while they have about it as ever-present, meaning it's always going to be in the back of our mind. It's going to be passively mentioned in things related to markets. And then when there's real news, it's going to be dominating the news cycle. So I think that's the direction we go. Like, I think that's what it's going to be for the next 90 days or whatever it may be. And, then we have a whole nother reset season. Season 1 of Trump was a nice little run here. If you think of seasons in little month stints, the first, month was interesting. And then season 2 has been a little bit crazy in 90 days. Season 3 happens. We'll see what happens there. So it's just, I don't know. We're a sitcom for any aliens in this simulation at this point. And we'll go. But I think it's ever present, not necessarily an everyday topic like it was during the initial run there. But I think it's going to be ever present until we have a solve. So yeah, man, we shall see. But
also, I don't think I hit on. I know I did not hit on it during the daily market update, but I've got to stop being a crypto sissy, Steve. I was unlocked from Sugar Shane in the War Room. I'm not risk adverse. I'm probably skewed pretty far on the risk side of the spectrum, but yet I continue to be a crypto sissy. I was a crypto sissy with big. We don't single out meme coins on this show. Our daily market updates, 9 times out of 10, it's just the top 10 coins by market cap. A couple days ago, I singled out Fartcoin as the winner of the cycle when it was about 50 cents, about 500 million. It's ripped up to 900 million, Steve. It's 88 cents this morning, continues face mounting day after day. Clear winner of the cycle. And I am like, I should have just made the move then so I don't feel down every time like I faded something, because I knew it was a winner, and I'm like, what's it going to do? A 2x from here? Well, sometimes it's good to book those 2x's just so you can be winning as things melt faces. And I am. I got to stop. If my gut says something's a winner, I got to start taking the plays. I've just not done that. Like, I had big pulled up the other day, super early, got my free miner. I'm just not taking shots.
What did you end up doing with big? Did you add the 2 raspberries?
I just added a single raspberry. So I've got a single raspberry there. I cashed out some of my big to buy that. And yeah, like, I was super early, but because I didn't go hard, like, I'm going to make, maybe a couple $100 instead of, could have turned it into like it could have been in several thousands, if not 5-figure win if I actually went hard when I got in. So too many times I've been in the right spot, but not made the right moves. And I'm aware, I'm cognizant of this PTSD I have as it relates to this space. I got to start swinging the bat again.
Yeah, that's it. It's hard to move with conviction. Like, the big is a great example. We talked with Shane about it, and we could have upgraded the room for a couple $100, and that would have paid off in spades, right? Like, that was the big one. Like, even if we just upgraded the room to add an additional raspberry, right? Minor, which are doing that. Like that would have been a major payout, let alone taking the big shots that other people took. It's one of the things
I $7. Like, and that's the thing. Like I kid you not. Like the transaction I had in my cart was less than $200. I don't know what the total amount was, but I know for a fact it was less than $200. I'm like, what am I going to throw $200 away at this for? But it's like everything about me I knew it was a good Ponzi. I can't even, like, reflecting, I don't even know why I didn't do it. And that's what I'm struggling with. Like, I was there, had the transaction, and I'm just like,
you wanted to book a win. It's the same reason I did, because it's funny. Like I made this. It's so funny. B Epic brings up this specifically because I was actually about to say this. So B Epic and Mesh are both like reading minds today, on the same wavelength. He said, yeah, Easy made like 10K, went in hard early. I was gonna say one of the things I respect about Easy, he wins, he loses, he talks about both. He goes hard with conviction. I put out a tweet yesterday where he was sharing some losses, which I thought was interesting, kind of giving him some flowers. I almost put out that tweet when I first saw him on the big coin, because he was sharing like, look, I'm going hard at this thing. We're going to make it work. And yeah, man, like, I think there's something to be said about the PTSD, whereas we would have gone hard. We went hard at mints. Like I went hard at.
It's so weird because it's only crypto for me. Like it's not affected how I play DFS or best ball or anything else. It's just my appetite for risk in this space is not me. Like I'm recognizing, like, I am not operating as I'm wired to operate, and it's costing me opportunities.
Yeah, it's hard because it's like, on the flip side, we probably operated like that in 2021 a little too much, held a little too many things, didn't do certain things, right? I mean, it's like I'm into 20 Royal Society of Players cards, right? And like, I could have made a lot of money on that in the short term, but I played it funky, and then I ended up using it for tax loss harvesting down the line. So you have those moments where you move with conviction and it works, move with conviction and doesn't. But I think because here's what I would say. Your daily fantasy strategy, you fire enough shots, you know you're going to end up being successful based on your skill, your time, your talent, your process, your work, and your expertise. I think in 2021 NFTs, it felt the same way. You know, because people said like, oh, you throw a dart and it's a winner. They weren't all winners. Sometimes you minted and it went below mint right away and you just cut your losses and bounced, or you just held and dealt with it. I think the problem is now, if you took 100 shots in a row and you win one, the disproportionate outsize isn't necessarily going to cover the same way DFS does. Like, maybe it would have with Big, maybe it would have with Fartcoin, but like, were you going to moved into Fartcoin with, you know, $20,000 and make a $20,000 win? Probably not. So maybe you would have gotten like a few $100 win in that. Maybe you would have gotten a few $100 win if you had done the Bitcoin thing. But then if you did that for everything, you'd still probably be down horrendously, because the amount of things like Pengu and other things that we could make moves at with the same sort of size and conviction, we wouldn't see. So I just don't know if the outsized opportunity feels there. And I think, at least for me personally, that affects it, where it's like with Big, I wanted to book a win and call it a win, make a few $100 here and there, be done with it. Yes, I could have won bigger, but like, I'm happy to book the win in this market. And I think part of it is the mentality is, I think maybe in this market, and tell me if you know, this maybe resonates. I feel like I'm a little bit more in survival mode in this market and wanting to, like, I keep saying survive in advance versus take the big shots and win in this market. And maybe I need to shift that, but it's hard when I feel like there's going to be like 10 opportunities that you might feel strongly about in the next 6 months, and maybe one of them is going to pan out. I don't know if it disproportionately covers the same way your DFS does. Does that track? It's like almost like you want to book the win, but it's like there aren't as many winners. So it's like you feel like I feel like it might be a losing proposition, and I want to continue to survive and have my money preserved.
Yeah, no, you're right. And, you know, I'm going to keep figuratively and literally swinging the baseball bat, because it's, you know, I'm locked in there, and there are more winners than losers. I just, this, for whatever reason, Big has really got me maybe to snap out of my PTSD, because like others, I had logic, or right, like why I didn't make a move. I have nothing with Big. Like a couple $100. Like it's not, it could have went to zero and I'm never thinking about it again. Like, and I just did, the paralysis or the lack of moving with conviction is not good, right? It's either like, I don't know, like being in this middle, like this tweener area, I just don't think is the right space to be. It's either just stay on the sidelines and don't think about it, or, you know, pick and choose your spots. But when you find one, you gotta you know how, again, never put any money in, you can't afford to lose. And by all means, I don't think anyone should be chasing big right now. I'm not putting any money. Like it is going, the music will stop. I'm near certain of it. I don't know when. B Epic brought up a good point in the abstract chat, is maybe look at some other abstract memes now, thinking that the winners from big are going to rotate. Maybe. I don't know. My concern with other memes on abstract is just the TVL is so little there. I mean, I think it's still like 14, 15 million bucks. I just don't know if there's enough to go around. Yes, it might rotate into other memes, but if there's another new Ponzi that comes up, it probably rotates in the other new Ponzi instead of a meme. I also, and I'll wrap with this and we can let everyone get out of here. I think the other thing why I'm beating myself up a little bit on big is I like something more than just a meme, right? I like the productive AI agents. I like the, it's just like where it can masquerade as a meme, but when there's something more, and I get it's not a, it is a, a mining Ponzi, but there's something more than just the big meme coin. And I think that stuff matters. I think it matters a lot. And I'm much more willing to take those shots than on a pure meme play that's, it's in and out, unless it is something like Fartcoin. I think anything new, it's just, get in, get out. And it's just not that interesting or exciting. And whereas I feel something that has something else, some sort of hook or, some utility, something else beyond the meme, that's interesting to me. And so when I think back about like my slow playing big or not making any sort of move with size, it's like I have no reason not to have done that as I reflect back. So I'm sharing all this to just talk myself into stop being a sissy.
Yeah, no, that's actually a good point about big, where it's like it's fun. My prediction on big is we're going to see a big copycat, which is not as good, and that's going to have less value. And then by the third iteration, it's going to be
roller coaster meme.
It's going to be downward volume, or downward opportunity. So no, I get your point. Still good to book wins. Being in the black is not a bad thing. It's better than being in the red. So I will take that all day and continue to make it work and move it into things that I like. But that said, let's send everybody off into their weekend. Appreciate everyone coming through this morning. Really good discussions, really good week. Working on getting some things in shape for next week as well. ApeCon next Thursday should be a fun one. Looking forward to talking to everybody bright and early. Oh, actually, I realized with ApeCon, we're not going to have with a bunch of 3 weeks in a row, by the way. So that'll be we'll have to see if we can either shift it or do it the following week, and then we'll have like a whole bunch of you coming out. But that said, we'll let everyone sail off into their day. Appreciate everyone coming through today. We will talk to everybody bright and early Monday morning at 8 a.m. Eastern time. Have a wonderful, wonderful weekend, everybody.
Thanks for tuning into Coffee with Captain, powered by ApeCoin. We hope you enjoyed the show, and remember, nothing we discussed today is financial advice. Until next time, keep exploring, stay curious, and we'll see you soon. Have a great day.
Welcome to the future.